Good morning and welcome to the Epping Forest Youth Council's Climate Action Conference 2021. My name is Sonny Bizzoni. I'm one of the 25 elected youth councillors who will be hosting the 2021 Youth Conference. Before we start, I'll cover the housekeeping points for the day. Our youth conference is being webcast. Participants are reminded of the need to activate their microphones before speaking. I'd like to remind everyone present that this conference will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. If you are seated in the lower public seating area, here, it is likely that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. We are expecting a fire alarm test today, so if you hear the fire alarm, it is a test. Please do not leave the building. If there is a true fire alarm, please listen to the staff and teachers, and together we will leave the building calmly and quietly by the nearest fire exit, which is to my right and to my left, all the way over there. Staff will assist you. The assembly point is on the green to the side of the civic building. You will wait there until you are told it is safe to return to the building. You have all been issued a face covering promoting one of the Youth Council's projects, My Life C19. You are all required to wear a mask throughout the day unless you are speaking or have a health issue. We want you all to stay safe. Your teachers will also have hand sanitizing gel for you to use throughout the day. Please use the hand gel when entering the dining areas and toilets. We must do everything we can to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Finally, toilets are signposted. There are toilets by the lifts on this floor, or alternatively, there are toilets on the ground floor where we'll be having lunch later.
Good morning. My name is Sydney Smith. Welcome and thank you for joining us to raise the profile of climate action and local democracy. As a bit of fun and to make sure that you were enjoying the event, I would like you all to hashtag climate action throughout the day so that we can get some feedback on how the day is going for you. On the screen, you will see the programme detailing the running order for the day. We will have a break at 10:30, lunch is at 12:45 and we will finish at 2:30 p.m. Toilet breaks are scheduled at break and lunch times. Your teachers will be here all day. The youth councillors and Epping Forest District staff are here to assist you throughout the day. Staff and youth councillors, please raise your hand so that we know who you are. Thank you. It is important that we keep to the tight programme, so please respect the times allocated to breaks. So let's get the conference started. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Lucy Vandermark from the Health and Wellbeing team at Epping Forest District Council. Over to you, Lucy.
Okay. Sticking with our climate change theme, okay, we're doing an icebreaker that involves zero equipment, okay, just yourselves. I appreciate the fact you're all in school uniforms, some are in skirts, I'm probably the only one dressed for the occasion this morning, okay? So just do what you can. It is a little bit tough, I'm not going to lie, okay? So we've got two different Sallys that we're going to go through. Some of you might already have heard of the Bring Sally Up challenge. Usually it's press-ups. Lucky for you, there's no room, alright? So you got out of that scot-free this morning. So we're doing two different Sallys. Our first Sally is unfortunately a squat, okay? So if you don't know what a squat is, I'm going to show you, sorry Jill, I'm going to show you, okay? So we're going to have our feet hip width, okay? We're going to bend at our knees, come down and push up, yeah? So, when it says bring Sally up, you have nothing to do, you're just on your feet. When it says bring Sally down, we come down into our squat and we hold until it says to bring our Sally back up, okay? Sitting on your chair is cheating, alright? So no one just sitting on your comfy chair, okay? We hold the squat. We're here for 3 minutes, okay? 3 minutes of squats is a long time first thing in the morning. So I'm going to swap out squats halfway through. I see dread already. So a little bit easier, it's going to test your balance and build a little bit of strength at the same time, okay? So hopefully hands on hips. If it's too close to the person next to you, just have them down by your side. We're going to push up to our tiptoes. Hold our Sally at the top and then take it down for our Sally down. Okay, so on your feet when you're ready, give yourself a shake off, alright? Wakey, wakey, you ready to go? When you're ready, so listen
It was the hottest year since climate records began.
Figures show this July was the single hottest month in recorded history.
Australia sweltered through its hottest spring on record.
The phenomenon was a short-term trigger to a long-term global warming caused by human activity.
Climate change is now affecting every country on every continent.
It's the rate that's of great concern.
And what do you put that rate down to?
The globe in recorded history.
2015 was the hottest year since climate records began.
Figures show this July was the single hottest month in recorded history.
Australia sweltered through its hottest spring on record.
The phenomenon was a short-term trigger to a long-term global warming caused by human activity.
Climate change is now affecting every country on every continent.
It's the rate that's of great concern.
And what do you put that rate down to?
Oh, it's human activity.
I think it's ridiculous. We have bigger problems right now, and it'll get cooler, it'll get warmer. It's called weather.
I do not believe that human activity is causing these dramatic changes to our climate the way these scientists are portraying.
1.2 million people died because of the pollution put up into the air.
This is a result of climate change. It's only going to get worse. This is a big problem, and it's not going to go away.
The debate is over. Climate change is real. It is already causing major problems. And if we do not act boldly and decisively, a bad situation will become worse.
As a UN messenger of peace, I have traveled all over the world for the last 2 years documenting how this crisis is changing the natural balance of our planet. I have seen cities like Beijing choked by industrial pollution, ancient boreal forests in Canada that have been clear-cut, and rainforests in Indonesia that have been incinerated. In India, I met farmers whose crops have been literally washed away by historic flooding. In America, I've witnessed unprecedented droughts in California and sea level rise flooding the streets of Miami. In Greenland and in the Arctic, I was astonished to see that ancient glaciers are rapidly disappearing, well ahead of scientific predictions. All that I have seen and learned on my journey has absolutely terrified me. There is no doubt in the world scientific community that this is a direct result of human activity and that the effects of climate change will become astronomically worse in the future. Our planet cannot be saved unless we leave fossil fuels in the ground where they belong. Now think about the shame that each of us will carry when our children and grandchildren look back and realize that we had the means of stopping this devastation, but simply lacked the political will to do so. Yes, we have achieved the Paris Agreement. More countries have come together here to sign this agreement today than for any other cause in the history of humankind, and that is reason for hope. But unfortunately, the evidence shows us that it will not be enough. A massive change is required right now, one that leads to a new collective consciousness, a new collective evolution of the human race, inspired and enabled by a sense of urgency from all of you. We can congratulate each other today, but it will mean absolutely nothing if you return to your countries and fail to push beyond the promises of this historic agreement. Now is the time for bold, unprecedented action. It is time to declare no more talk, no more excuses, no more 10-year studies, no more allowing the fossil fuel companies to manipulate and dictate the science and policies that affect our future. The world is now watching. You will either be lauded by future generations or vilified by them. You are the last best hope of Earth. We ask you to protect it, or we and all living things we cherish are history.
Microphone, please.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Lucy for the amazing icebreaker earlier. Definitely got us all moving. And second of all, I would like to say I'd like to hope that you all found that film thought-provoking. The film is available on YouTube and it is made by someone called Merrick Lee Pham. So my name is Matthew Carter. I have been a youth counsellor since April of 2020. We're here today to listen, to learn, and to debate. And I hope you all take away something today to help our future and to help the future of our planet. I now have the great pleasure to introduce our guest speakers. On the top table I have the Chairman of Epping Forest District Council, Councillor Helen Kane, Councillor Aniket Patel, the Community and Regulatory Service Portfolio Holder, and the Chief Executive Officer of Epping Forest District Councillor Georgina Blakemore. Welcome. So, Councillor Helen Kane, the Chairman of Epping Forest District Council, has been a great supporter of the Epping Forest Youth Council for many years now. I'd like to thank you for joining us today and welcome you to talk to the guests.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Epping Forest Youth Council Conference 2021. It is good to see so many of you here, and I, for one, will be very interested to hearing your views on today's important topic, climate change. Back in September 2019, the Council declared a climate emergency and passed a motion to do everything within its power to become a carbon-neutral district by 2030. To reach these challenging targets, we need the help of everyone. We need the help of everyone in the district. We're doing this not only to reduce the impacts of climate change now and in our future, but also to improve air quality in the district, which has a great effect on our health and the health of nature, including the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation. As a council, we are committed to do what we can. Climate change is the biggest threat we face, but we can tackle it, and we are. The three most important things we can do are to stop the activities that caused it, enhance our resilience to its effects, and talk about it. That is why I am delighted to welcome you all here today, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and views on how you think we can foster a better future for us all. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Kane, for opening today's Youth Council Conference. So I would now like to welcome Councillor Aniket Patel, the Community and Regulatory Service Portfolio Holder.
Thank you very much. I'm going to stand up because my thighs are still sore from the earlier activities, so hope you don't mind. I think what a great way to start a youth conference with some physical activity. It's great. Perhaps, Chairman, we could introduce this when we have our next full council meeting. As has already been mentioned, my name is Aniket Patel. I am the portfolio holder for commercial and regulatory services for the council. Sorry, communities and regulatory services. I'm so proud that actually the Youth Council is within my portfolio. When I first became a councillor back in 2015, on the District Council, my very first project was carrying out a review of the youth service provision from within the council, including the Youth Council. And at that time, I was actually in awe of the work that youth councillors were producing at that time. However, our task was really to see how we could support its development and how we could bring forward new projects that not only enrich the lives of our youngsters within Epping Forest, but right across Essex. And I'm pleased to say, I'm very proud to say actually, that within 2 years, the Youth Council came forward with a project of my life, which got the Sheriff's Award. And it was such a great achievement, massive national accolade. And I think, in truth, it did come from the youth councillors, but it couldn't have happened without the support of some of the officers that support the Youth Council, particularly Diane Butler here. So I became a councillor in 2012. I was elected to the parish council in Buckerstill, so I'm a ward councillor in Buckerstill West. Within a year, I became chairman of the council and was chairman for 3 years. And in that time, I stood for election to the district in 2015. When I first became a district councillor, I was actually the youngest councillor at 35. But what I'm pleased to say is that as now in 2021, I'm no longer the youngest councillor. I was completely trumped by, firstly by Councillor Holly Whitbread and then Councillor Jamie McIver. And I'm actually very pleased to say that Jamie and I worked together when we did the review of the Youth Council. And he put a huge amount of enthusiasm and energy behind some of the key principles that allow you to operate as you operate now. So that is my involvement, my first involvement with the Youth Council. But I must say that every time I hear a youth councillor speak at a committee meeting, whether that be at a select committee or at the main overview and scrutiny committee, I'm absolutely in awe of the way in which you all perform. Firstly, the confidence in which you deliver your presentations, your speeches, the passion in which you come forward with. It's absolutely amazing. But what I'm most in admiration of is the way in which you present. The presentation skills are phenomenal, and the use of mediums, so you not only attract to youngsters but to older members of the council as well. And it's something that we all learn from, actually. But again, I'd say that the skills that you learn as youth councillors not only set you about your role now as a youth councillor, but they set you up for life. These skill sets will continue right throughout your working career and potentially your council careers. So why do you want to become a councillor? For me, I wanted to give something back to the local community. I did fall into the role in 2012, but essentially you have to ask yourself, why do I want to do what I'm doing? I was 30 when I first became a councillor. I had a young family. My son was 18 months old, and it does take up a lot of time. But as I say, it depends on what you want to, what do you want to achieve. Some have political aspirations and want to sit on the green benches in Parliament. Some just want to be a local person supporting the local community to develop, and that was what I wanted to achieve. The question I've been asked today is around the average age of a councillor, and whether councillors take on board comments from the youth, or how do we engage with the youth. And actually, that piece of work that we did back in 2015, we made it policy at that time that that all policies that come forward from the council need. There is a requirement that we engage with the youth council to seek their opinions and their views, because essentially what we do is to shape the future for yourselves, and that is through policy and projects, whether they're short or long-term projects. So apologies, sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. So as I said, I was the youngest councillor when I first started out, and the question around age is but a number. As I've mentioned, it depends on what is it that you want to achieve as a councillor. I believe that you do need a blend of life and work experience, but it's what you put back into the role. So through your working careers, you'll develop other skills which you can also utilise back in your role as councillors, and support not only support the officers in developing new policies. It's my approach to being a councillor has always been twofold. It's not we work with officers to produce the policies that are correct for our local communities. I do love to talk, so I have to apologise now in advance. So the topic and the subject that we're here for today, climate action, the conference. So when I was re-elected back in 2019, I've told this story at council, so I'm going to share it with you now. I was invited by my local brownies to attend essentially a question and answer session. Now, I wasn't sure what to expect. So when I turned up, the first question was, "Are you our local MP?" And I said, sorry to disappoint them, but I had to confess that I wasn't. But they weren't too disappointed. But the root of questioning that evening was all around pollution and harm to the wildlife and to the forestry, talking about plastic bottles, harming the wildlife, and what we do as a council in terms of recycling to prevent this from happening again. We as a district council are one of the leaders in recycling throughout our district, throughout the county. So I'm very pleased to say that, and we are currently formulating sustainable policies which will support as you move from youth councillors into adult life. So thank you very much for inviting me to your conference this morning, and I look forward to hearing all of the contributions made.
Thank you, Councillor Patel, for your continued support, and thank you for joining us today. I would now like to welcome our third guest speaker, Georgina Blakemore. Georgina is the Chief Executive of Epping Forest District Council. Welcome, Georgina.
Thank you very much. And just to say, first of all, absolutely honoured to be invited to speak today, and I am really looking forward to spending all of the sessions with you. From my perspective, I think what I would encourage you all to do today is to be as articulate and as vocal and as enthusiastic as you possibly can, because this topic is something that I know you have actually fought quite hard to get onto the agenda. So having done that and having this opportunity, I'd encourage you all to participate to the full, because I think there's a number of people here who will benefit, not least myself, but a number of officers here that will benefit from the process that we'll go through, the views that you will clearly be expressing, because we need to have the views of what I would call our younger generations in how we proceed in not just a policy sense, but also a strategic sense from the council. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all have to say and what you contribute towards this, number one topic, actually. And I think to be able to sit in the environment with not only the Youth Council, but the other guests, with the officers that we have, and there are a number of officers who I'd like to thank for being here today. Not just the people who have organised it, although they are their usual awesome selves, but also some of the officers around the travel and the sustainability. We also have some Essex County Council travel representation as well. So I think you're speaking to the right bunch of people, actually. We have the targets in place, we've set the policy, we've set the commitments, and now it's actually about the action, and that is about delivery. And informing how we take that forward as an organisation is your opportunity today, and I would encourage you all to take it. So once again, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I think it's a fantastic mix of people, a really packed agenda, and on that I will let you all move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina. That was actually a really nice speech, and you kept it short and sweet. We are, in fact, running faster than I was expecting, so we are doing quite well today. So I would like to pose a question to each guest today. So I'm going to start with Georgina. My question to you is, what employment opportunities are there for young people in Epping Forest District Council?
Sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat that.
So, what employment opportunities are there for young people in Epping Forest District Council?
Okay, excellent question. And I will start by saying that I think the employment opportunities for the youths in Epping Forest District Council, as they are across the UK at the moment, I would suggest are plentiful, actually, if appropriate preparation for accessing those jobs is made, as I would say to any young person. So I think generally, sorry, excuse the fly, I think I'm going to have to get up and swat that, move around, do a few squats, and the fly's probably here as a result of those squats, to be fair. But actually, actually, let me get back to the topic. So I think employment is about skills and preparation. I believe that the world of work is accessible, but I don't think that it's easy to access without support. And within that support, I would, and I know that schools put support together for our young people to get into the world of work. Specifically, apprenticeships and the way that the education system prepares people, for me, is very important. And I think actually our own organisation around skills and employment choices is well prepared and actually investing in those areas. So if you're in this environment and you are working on the skills that counsellors, councils, these types of opportunities give you, then that is preparation in itself. I mean, it's a CV builder, and I would encourage anybody to participate in activity that makes the CV stand out from others. So, yeah, UK employment for me, it's there to be had. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Georgina. I expect we'll all be contacting you in a few years looking for a job. So, Councillor Kane, my question to you is, what advice would you give young people wishing to get involved with community work?
Right. Well, you, young people, have the power to change our world for the better. So, my advice is dream big and boldly. What you as group or individuals you would like to do, go for it, but then narrow it down and concentrate what is achievable as well. You can play a bigger role in your local community if you wanted to improve your area. Volunteering, for example, is free work experience. Give your best to a few very important things and aim to be as helpful as you can. You will meet new people. You will get experience. You will make a big difference to your community. You will gain new or use existing skills. And it looks very good in your CV if you have experience of voluntary work. All your efforts help build stronger communities for you, for your world, because it will be your world and your children's world you will be building. So my advice is, go for it, find and follow your passion.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. That was actually a really, really lovely answer, and that will definitely be taken in by a lot of us today. So finally, my question to Councillor Patel is, what is the average age of an elected councillor, and do you feel they are able to understand the issues young people face today?
Thank you, and apologies because I did touch on that earlier when I spoke. But so the honest answer is, what is the average age of a councillor? I don't know. But what I am pleased to say is that we as a council now have a really good blend of youth, middle-aged and old elderly councillors. I was trying to be politically correct when I said that. And actually in the council's existence, this is probably the most the most diverse range of councillors that we've ever had representing our communities. We've, as I've mentioned already, Councillor McIver has been the former youth councillor, who's now not only a district councillor but a county councillor, and also Councillor Holly Whitbread, a cabinet member at district council and also deputy at county as well. So the honest answer, as I said, the average age of a councillor, I don't know, but do we get to the right decisions? When it comes to making the right decisions, do we make them? I'd say not 100% of the time, but we are very close to making correct decisions the majority of the time. And that comes from the blend of councillors that we have. We all come from different backgrounds, have different life experiences, different work experiences, and we bring all of that forward in the way in which we shape policies that we adopt as a district council. Age, to me, doesn't really matter as a councillor. As I said already, I think it really comes down to the passion that you put behind the role. Essentially, being a councillor is a title, but it's what you make of the opportunity that you have as an elected member to serve your community. So do we take on board the views of our youth, and I'd say again, through professional experiences, through our own life experiences, where we've got families of different ages, and we're conversing conversations, and obviously through consultation with yourselves, I believe we do, and we do better now than we've ever done so, and that is really down to yourselves for being a strong voice for our youth. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Patel. That was actually a really amazing answer. It was a hard question I gave you, and you answered it amazingly. So I'd like to thank all three of our guests today for being here. Your answers have been very interesting, and I'm sure we'll all take note of them for the future. And you've helped set the scene for today.
Thank you, Matthew. My name is Archie Flynn, and I am a serving youth councillor for 4 years now, so that's since 2018. I would like to have the honour to introduce Fran Edmonds, who is the Climate Change Officer at Epping Forest District Council. So I'll hand over to you. I'll hand you over to Fran to explain more. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, I'm Fran Edmonds, the Climate Change Officer at Epping Forest District Council, and it's now quiz time. So everyone will need their phones out. It's not often that we encourage this in these kind of scenarios. And then hopefully, so we're going to do the quiz through a programme called Mentimeter. And then if for some reason that doesn't work with the Wi-Fi, we do have a PowerPoint. So Mentimeter, what will happen is there will be a code on the screen and a web address that you can go to, and you log in. Here we go. Yeah, you log in, so menti.com, and then you enter the code, and that will take you to the climate change quiz. And then as we scroll through the questions, they're going to come up on your screen, and you pick the answer that you think is right. And then at the end, there will be a leaderboard. We are playing for pride, so you'll just have to boast afterwards and tell everyone about the climate change conference to start the conversation about climate change in general. So if you just want to maybe put your hand up when you're logged in and happy. Lovely. It looks like we've got the majority of people online. Okay. Great. You'll just have to shout out your answer. Great. Okay, so I hope this quiz today will be a bit of a fun way to introduce some of the topics of climate change, and many of these topics will be discussed later today. So, on with the first question. So, greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere trap heat from the sun, warming the Earth and causing global warming, which has led to climate change. Which of the following human activities releases greenhouse gases in our atmosphere? Oh, right. I think there's an issue with the timing. It's,
Tech trouble.
yeah. This test of our tech. So we tested it earlier in the week, so it's logged our questions rather than... So we just need to reset the quiz. But you have a preview of the first question, so you can think about your answers in the meantime. It might be when we reset the quiz that we need to put in a new code. Okay, so it might be prompting you to put your name in again, but we seem to have lots online, lots of good pictures there.
Looks more like it.
Okay. Okay, so if everyone's ready, we'll start with the first question again. So as a reminder, which of the following human activities releases greenhouse gases into our atmosphere? You'll have about 30 seconds to answer. Okay, so time's up. So the answer is in fact D. So that's all of them. So if we go to the answer slide. So in terms of the greenhouse gases given off, so waste to landfill produces the greenhouse gas methane. Travelling by plane produces carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. This is produced from the burning of fossil fuels, so it would be the same in other combustion engines such as cars and lorries, that kind of thing. And then for farming, we get nitrogen oxide from the fertilizers used, and also methane, which comes from things like animal poo and also their burps and farts as well, which is quite gross. It's worth pointing out that carbon dioxide is the most common greenhouse gas. Therefore, these are often referred to as carbon emissions, and we'll do in some of the quiz questions as well. Okay, so question 2. So the global effects of climate change are likely to be heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and sea level rise. This means low-lying cities and countries could be flooded and even completely submerged as soon as 2050. But which is the lowest country in the world?
This is going well.
Yeah. Phew, I'm glad the tech worked.
Great way to teach people stuff.
Okay, so the answers are in. So the answer is C, the Maldives. In fact, the Maldives, the average height of the land is just 1.5 meters above sea level, so only just above the height of these benches in here. So they're very much at risk of the level of at risk of sea level rise in the future. Okay, so question 3. Food emissions come from changing land use from its natural state to grow either crops or house animals, farming process such as fertilizing soils and feeding animals, and the processing of food, transporting it, and also what we waste. In the UK, the food we eat is responsible for what percentage of our carbon emissions? Okay, so the answers are in. Loads of correct answers there. So the answer is in fact D, over 30%. So this is quite high. Luckily, Ashley is going to be talking to us about food emissions later, so we can learn lots about how we can reduce them there. So question 4. Okay, so when going to school, walking, cycling, scooting, or taking public transport produces less carbon emissions per journey than driving or being driven. What is the average journey distance to get to secondary school in the UK? Okay, so the answer, split there, the answer is B, 3.2 miles. With this being an average, this means there are many who live within easy walking and cycling distance to school. So question 5. Oh, we've got a leaderboard, so this is showing where we are at the moment. So, Christina Robinson. That might mean that we won't have a leaderboard at the end, but that's fine. Okay, so for question 5, trees and other plants are not only nice to look at, but they take carbon dioxide out of the air through a process called photosynthesis. How many additional trees on Earth would it take to cancel out the last 10 years of carbon emissions?
Total guess this one. This is the most.
Shield the
I'm not
answers.
looking. It's the most guessy one. My eyesight's so bad I can't read. Lots of people went, oh, yes.
Yes. Okay, so the answer is D, 1.2 trillion trees. The study that this came from that it's based on would mean that trees would need to be planted on all available space that we have on Earth. It shows that we really need to reduce our emissions as a priority, but the tree planting can also play its part. So, question 6. Okay, homes in the UK produce around 1/5 of the country's emissions. What activity in UK homes is thought to produce the most emissions? Oh. Great, lots of right answers there as well. Okay, so the answer is A, heating and hot water. So things like asking your parents to turn the heating down 1 degree, taking a short shower instead of a bath, unlike this cat, and closing up drafty gaps can also help to make a difference. So question 7. In 2015, world leaders came together for a climate change conference in Paris to agree to tackle global warming. During this conference, they set a target to limit the warming of the Earth to a certain temperature rise. What was this temperature rise?
No, I haven't really. I know. Okay. Oh. So you obviously all know your stuff. The answer is 1.5 degrees Celsius. This doesn't sound like a lot, but even at 1.2 degrees Celsius, where we are now, we're seeing effects across the whole of the globe. I hope that some of you followed the latest climate change conference at COP26 in Glasgow, where a further agreement between countries was reached to further clarify the action taken to reach this goal. So I'm not sure, do we have a leaderboard next? No. So that's the end of the quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a bit of a halfway winner there, but to be honest, you're all winners, so thank you for taking part. For the final slide, this isn't actually a question. It's important that young people such as yourselves have a say over your future. But where can young people have their say about climate change in Epping Forest District Council? Well, the Council are running a consultation on our climate change action plan as we speak, and there is a young person's questionnaire that can be filled out for those aged 11 to 18. You don't need to be a climate change expert to take part. All views are welcome. The questionnaire is available on the Council's climate change consultation website until the 26th of November. So we encourage you all to take part over the next week and tell your friends and family about it too. The answers you give will be used to improve our climate change action plan. And also in the packs that you're going to be given out later, there'll be a piece of paper in there which will have QR codes of all the links to this information, and I think your teachers will have it too. After today, I'm sure you'll have lots of questions about climate change and what you can do to help. For further information, the Council have a series of climate change web pages. Information on these pages and the consultation will be, as I said, will be provided in your packs. For the Youth Council members, we also have a session in a couple of weeks' time, so please bring any questions you have to that day. But in the meantime, if anyone does have any questions about climate change, my email
is climatechange@eppingforestdc.gov.uk. And again, that will be shared in your packs and on many of the websites on the QR code. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you very, very much, Fran. I hope you all thoroughly enjoyed that. I know I did, although I didn't manage to make the leaderboard, but let's not be competitive. So I now have the great honour and pleasure to introduce the 4 new guest speakers. On the top table, I should have, which I don't, but we'll give it a second. Give it a second. So I'll call you guys up. So it should be Nick Hill, the Sustainable Travel Planning Officer from Essex County Council. I should have Ashley Howard, Health and Wellbeing Officer from Epping Forest District Council. Fran Edmonds, who I do have, the Climate Change Officer at Epping Forest District Council. Jeff Hodges, the Countryside Officer at Country Care at Epping Forest District Council. So I'll give you just a second to come and join me up here. I would now like to welcome Nick Hill, our first guest speaker.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Nick Hill. I am from Essex County Council and I work for the Sustainable Travel Planning team. Can I have my first slide, please? There we go. What does sustainable travel mean? Can we go back one, please? Thank you. Sustainable travel, it's more of the thing on the bottom, people walking, scooting, cycling around, and less of the thing on the top, getting stressed, stuck in traffic. No one enjoys that. More of the top, more of the bottom, less of the top. Next slide, please. So what is sustainable travel? Sustainable travel is many things. What it is not, slide please, it's not anti-car. We like to support car sharing. We recognise that a lot of people in Essex, it's a rural county. Is there anyone from Ongar here today? You'll know it's a very rural part of the county. Cars are kind of necessary to a certain extent, but you can car share. Those people in that photo there, they are saving oodles of money and they're lessening the traffic and their carbon emissions. That was taken before COVID, I can assure you. Next slide, please. We want more cycling in general. We want everyone to be able to cycle. We've got a scheme going at the moment, taking place in Clacton-on-Sea, right over the other side of Essex, right by the North Sea, called Pedal Power, where we recognise that some people can't afford bikes. Bikes cost money. So it's a special scheme whereby those people in deprived areas are given bikes. That may sound like a giveaway, what have they done to earn them? But it benefits the local community as well. Fewer cars on the road, people getting out on their bikes, getting that exercise, getting the fresh air, helping everyone. Everyone breathes cleaner air. Next slide, please. Now, e-scooters. Anyone ridden an e-scooter? Interesting, enjoy it? Yeah? At the moment, they are being trialled in certain towns in Essex. The government has asked us to test them out in Basildon, Chelmsford and Colchester, I think it is. I don't think there are any in any parts of Epping at the moment, with a view to one day regulating them and making them a bit more available to everyone. Because you can get a long way on them. They go at a decent pace. And you don't need a driving licence to ride them. Next slide, please. Park and ride. You don't have any of those in Epping. Has anyone ever ridden a park and ride bus? You have, right. We got them in Chelmsford. We've got 2 of them in Chelmsford, and we've got 1 of them in Colchester. The attraction of the park and ride is that you don't have to drive all the way into the centre of a city or a town, which isn't fun for anyone. If anyone's ever driven into the centre of Chelmsford, it's hellish, frankly. Get on the park and ride. The bus driver does all the work for you. There are bus lanes, so you can shortcut the traffic as well. And you save a lot of money as well. Parking at the park and ride is a lot cheaper than parking in the centre of town. A lot cheaper. Next slide, please. Look, quick poll of hands. Who likes cake here? Put your hands up if you like cake. Possibly easier, put your hands up if you don't like cake. There's always some contrarians in the house, aren't there? Why am I asking that? We have a little scheme that we run called the Cake Escape in Essex. It works as a way of rewarding active travel, that is walking or cycling. Lots of cafes around the county take part. You get issued with a stamp book, a log book. You visit these participating cafes, you buy a cup of tea, soft drink, bit of cake, you get it stamped. If you earn enough stamps, you get a free bit of cake. It's a reward system. It's only a soft measure. It's not going to convert anyone to being a hardcore cyclist or a hardcore walker, if such things exist. But it does help engender that whole ethos of active travel in there. Next slide, please. Why are we doing this? This is the climate, what are you? The Climate Action Group, aren't you? You're the Climate Conference. So climate change is certainly a part of it. Can you click, please? We will see the previous slides that came up. We're doing it for lots of reasons. One is because it's green, as I've said. One, to save money. Those car sharers, again, they're saving money. Using the park and ride saves money on parking. It's healthy. Cycling, walking, even scooting, they're good for your health. And fewer cars means cleaner air for absolutely everyone to breathe. And finally, they're sociable as well. Walking with your mates, getting public transport with your mates, there's a lot more opportunity to discuss the matters of the world and indeed your lives than there would be if you were stuck in a car. Next slide, please. So how do we achieve all these? It's all good to have these aspirations to be green, to be healthy, to be sociable. How do we achieve these? We do this, click please, through what we call travel plans. Travel plans, they take place in workplaces. A workplace, like Epping Forest District Council, they can develop a travel plan whereby they develop all kinds of initiatives to support their staff to travel sustainably. Did anyone come by car here today? A few of you did. Was it easy parking? Not always. It's not always easy parking. So, your two people in the photos there, the one on the left, that woman, she has bought a bike through what's called the Cycle to Work scheme. It allows members of staff to buy a bike for a much cheaper price and spread the cost over a year or 18 months. The chap on the left, he's getting public transport to get to work. He's used the tube if he works in Epping, for example, on the central. Anyone come by the central line today? I did. He used the tube to come out to Epping, and he got a discount on his season ticket through his workplace. That was all part of the workplace travel plan. Workplace travel plans don't interest you guys for the now. So what we do have, click please. We also have school travel plans as well, school and college travel plans. They're a bit more geared towards the youth. We recognise that, I think everyone's under 17 here today. I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. No one's corrected me, good. So none of you will have driving licences. We recognise that we want to empower you to use your own steam to get to school or college by walking, scooting, cycling, public transport, car sharing, in that order. How do we do that? By developing a school travel plan. Particularly at secondary schools, we like to use a scheme, click please, called the Youth Travel Ambassadors. Youth Travel Ambassadors is where a group of really passionate students like yourselves in the climate, as the climate reps for your school, they get together, they analyse the issues affecting how students get to school, get to their school, and they propose initiatives, they propose solutions, they engage with their local councillors, with their council staff, with the public transport operators. They make proposals, they create ideas, and they take them forward. And that's the challenge I want to put to you today. If you want to create a school travel plan at your school, please speak to me afterwards. I'm going to have a stall out in wherever we're going to be after this. Please speak to me. I will be happy to support you throughout developing a travel plan. Bespoke to your school, specific. We've got people from Ongar here. We'll also have people from Loughton. Ongar's in the middle of a reasonable sized village, stroke small town with no public transport, no trains certainly. Loughton, Roding Valley here today? You are? You're right next to a tube station. So you're in very different areas. And we can all make it bespoke to your specific situation. So, click please. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is please come and speak to me afterwards when I'll have a stall out in the lobby there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick, for that wonderful presentation, and I hope our schools will take something out of that and try and sustain and encourage sustainable transport. My next guest that I'd like to introduce is Ashley Howard. So, over to Ashley Howard.
Hi everyone, so I talk at the speed of light. If I start going red, someone just let me know. But hi, I am a registered nutritionist and I'm a Health and Wellbeing Officer for Epping Forest District Council. So just going to speak to you a little bit about nutrition and perhaps some elements that we can adopt into our diets, some more plant-based ideas. Oh, thanks, Jay. Okay, so who eats meat? Raise your hand if you eat meat. Who would say they eat meat every day? All right, okay, good. So if we look at the screen, you can see that over 346 million tonnes of meat is consumed every year, which I'm sure, as you would agree, is a lot. And out of that, meat and dairy actually account for 14.5% of the greenhouse gases, so that's methane and carbon dioxide. This is not to suggest that you must not eat meat, you must become vegan or vegetarian. It's not that, but it's just trying to think about ways that we can reduce our meat intake and try and buy better quality where possible. I will come back to this, but has anyone heard of a flexitarian diet before? Okay, fabulous. So it just really is quite simple. You try and only have meat 2 or 3 times a week, and then the rest you try and have more plant-based options. Next slide, please. Don't know if that's big on the screen. If we look at the chart, this shows you the average greenhouse gas impact per 50 grams. And as you can see, beef is really high, that's 17.7. And at the bottom, you have your more plant-based options, so your tofu, your beans, and your nuts. So there's still a carbon footprint for them, but considerably lower. And the reason that cows in particular, they have quite a high greenhouse gas is because their digestion of their food is by fermentation. And a byproduct of that is the release of methane, as Fran said, by burping and passing wind. And also from the decomposition of manure. So that is why beef is exceptionally high. Next slide, please. So just going back to a flexitarian diet, where possible, try and buy local food if you can do that, because that also then it prevents the transport emissions as well. If you're buying food that's been imported, planes, cars, whatever, obviously that is then fuel that is impacting on climate change as well. And another thing to think about is if you are buying in-season food, that also then reduces artificial heat and the need to use that. So that also reduces greenhouse gases. And from a nutritional point of view, if you are eating more diverse foods, you get more vitamins and minerals. And if you can't cook like me, that can be quite hard, but it's definitely worth looking at. So definitely over the next week or so, just try and see if you can have a couple of days where you do just try and have some vegetarian options, perhaps look at loads of websites. Instagram's really good for like Meat-Free Monday, plant-based alternatives. So that's something to think about. Sorry, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so what can we do? Like I said, try and buy local where you can. I know food is expensive, so I'm not suggesting that you go out with your caregivers and say, Ashley told you to go to Waitrose and spend £1,000. It's not that, but think about going to the butchers, your local markets at the weekend, and you can create some really nice meals, and it doesn't have to be super pricey at all. Try and grow your own fruit and vegetables if you have the patience. I do not, but you might. That's something else to try. And also with your packaged and convenience foods, there's also a production emission from that as well. So the cooking of that, the cleaning from doing that, and of course the plastic waste that comes from these products. And that's something else that we should all be thinking about. Just going back to what I was saying, some really, really good strategy, initiatives you can follow. Meat-Free Monday. I'm assuming everyone's probably on Instagram. A lot of people, yes. Yes, if you're not, I'm proud of you. Don't go on, but it is good if you are. BBC website, lots of vegetarian ideas on there, and it's just something to definitely try and adapt to. I'm around all day, so any questions I will try and answer, but thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for there, Ashley, and definitely and literally food for thought. I'd like to introduce my next guest, who is Fran Edmonds. So over to you, Fran.
Hello again, everyone. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about waste issues and the waste hierarchy, and then action that we can all take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from reducing waste. So slide, please. So first of all, waste issues. Well, one of the main releases of greenhouse gases from waste comes from landfill and where methane is released. Also, everything we buy and everything we throw away, it's taken energy to produce this. So therefore, we're using more and more energy and emitting further greenhouse gases by producing more and more waste, the more that we have this throwaway culture. When waste isn't properly managed and disposed of, it can cause pollution in our waterways, on land, and in the air as well. So this is really damaging to habitats and wildlife, and also to humans as well. You might have heard of the microplastics that have been found in the ocean, which can then make their way into our bodies as well. Also, when waste is burnt, this can produce air pollution, and then with litter, which is also what we see as land pollution as well. This is unsightly around towns and cities, and again, it can also make its way into the waterways from the land. Next slide. So what do we do about it? Well, this slide shows the waste hierarchy. Has anyone come across this before? Okay, so a few of you. So what this describes is the best way to manage our waste going forward. So the best way to do it is to reduce the amount that we produce in the first place. And some slides after this we'll discuss how we can do that for some common items. Then the next best thing is to reuse. So this is where you have a certain material and you use it again and again and again without changing the structure of that material. So examples would be reusable bottles, reusable bags, that kind of thing. Then we have recycling. So this is where you use that material again, but the composition of that material is altered. So examples of that might be a plastic bottle that's turned into a park bench, or maybe one of the fleeces that you get because they're actually made of plastic. It takes energy to recycle these materials, so this is why it's not so high up on the hierarchy as reuse and reduce. So the next one we have is recover. So examples of this are anaerobic digestion. So this is where your food waste and organic waste is kind of fermented down and it produces methane, and that can then be used for powering other things. So you're recovering that energy from the waste. And another example is energy from waste incinerators, where the heat and power from those incinerators is used in other places. So the final and worst one is disposal. So this would be your landfill waste, black bin waste, and also incinerating waste without recovering any energy from it. So next slide, please. So how can we reduce waste? So first of all, plastic and packaging waste. When you're out shopping, you can look for items which have no or less packaging. Examples of this could be loose fruit and vegetables rather than the plastic packaged ones, and also things like shampoo bars and soap rather than the big containers that you get. You can also replace single-use items with reusable alternatives. Before I mentioned that these could be reusable bottles like you've all been given today, reusable bags, coffee cups, but ones that you might not think of so much could be reusable face cloths for your makeup or for general cleaning, and also for the ladies, reusable menstrual products as well. So another thing you can do is just saying no to extras. So perhaps you go to a takeaway and you might be offered some plastic cutlery, some napkins, but you're going home anyway, so you have that at home. So just say no. And the same with plastic bags as well. If you've got your reusable bag with you at all times, then you can just say, no, thank you, I don't want a bag today. For food, one of the main things you can do is plan and portion ahead. If you know the portion sizes and you buy all the right things, then you can reduce the amount of leftovers you have. But if you do have leftovers, it's not the end of the world. You can have these for lunch or another meal later in the week. And there are plenty of websites such as Love Food, Hate Waste, who will talk you through recipes on how you can jazz these up and make them more tasty second time around. You can also try freezing food. It's amazing the foods that you can freeze. So you've got bread, milk, eggs, loads of these standard staples that you wouldn't expect. And it can help them to last longer. My personal favourites are keeping bread in the freezer, and then you can just toast it straight from there, or having chopped up fruit to make smoothies in the morning, which is tasty and healthy as well. On the subject of fruit, you can keep some fruit in the fridge rather than in the fruit bowl, and it just helps it to keep a little longer, especially in the summer. So next slide, please. So the points on this slide apply to many day-to-day items, but the examples here are electronics and clothing, as it's something that you might experience more in your day-to-day lives. So when thinking about these items, when you're shopping, you can go out and say, do I really need this? Am I going to use it? And that will hopefully stop you from buying things that then just go in the bin next week. Can also shop second-hand. Clothing, electronics are really good for this. You've got many websites that do this, and they're ballooning the number of these all the time, and the quality is getting better and better. Shopping second-hand is also cheaper, so you get more for your money, and you're just prolonging the life of those items. Also repair and maintain. If it might be that you get a hole in your jeans or a cracked screen on your phone, and getting this repaired rather than buying a new one, or maybe you could turn your jeans into shorts or a skirt or something just to prolong the use of those items. Finally, if you do want to throw something away, consider donating or selling unwanted items. This can make you a couple of pennies, and it's also great to prolong the life again. So some examples of this, in the local area we have Epping Forest Reuse, which is mainly for furniture, but there are, you can do electricals there I think as well, and also the charity shops on our high streets. And then online there are loads of apps, like you might have come across Depop and eBay and various Facebook Marketplace as well, and there are so many places that you can put your unwanted items. Great, okay. Everything. Oh, sorry, last slide. One more slide. Yeah, so for more information, there is the Love Essex website. So this is what's on the black water bottles that you've been given. And on these pages, there's loads and loads of information on waste, how you can reduce it, and also recycling tips as well. The Epping Forest District Council web pages are there's on the climate change web pages, there are some tips on how to reduce waste, and there's also the rubbish pages as well, which says how you can specifically recycle in the area and what bin does what. So it's really important to think about that, because if waste is contaminated, then it can't be recycled. Then in terms of food waste and clothes, there are plenty of national campaigns going on at the moment. So if you want to find out more, Love Food, Hate Waste and Love Your Clothes are two examples. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Fran, for that, for your presentation. I hope that schools, like all of our guest speakers, can take that away and try and waste less and help our lovely environment. It gives me the great honour to move on to our next guest, who is Jeff Hodges from County Care. So welcome, Jess.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jess. I'm a countryside officer with Country Care, and we look after the nature reserves owned by the council in the district. So nature can be our biggest ally in fighting the nature and climate emergency if we act now. Next slide, please, Jay. So climate change is having a massive impact on nature and on ecology and on wildlife. It's displacing it from where its current home ranges. Some species are being hit harder by weather that they're not expecting, they're not used to, and they're not adapted for. The predator-prey relationships are completely off, and the whole food cycle is completely off as well. So animals are emerging from hibernation earlier because it's warmer, and the food sources just aren't there for them just yet. Some examples are the willow warbler. This is a relatively small bird that doesn't like the heat. It's now been lost from some of its UK range as it's moving northern, seeking the warmer weather, and it's now no longer found in some of the southern places where it used to live. Other species, such as the comber and peacock, two really beautiful butterflies, are, in the UK at least, benefiting. They've actually increased their home range, but in countries further south, they'll have been lost as well. We're noticing other butterflies are also now living throughout the year here, rather than being migrants and seasonal visitors. They're actually able to stay here through the winter now, proving that it's warm enough for them to survive. So in some ways, that can be seen as a benefit to them specifically, but they should be migrating. They should be in various countries across the world at different times of the year. Not all species can relocate either. Many of them will predominantly suffer due to climate change, which is why effective and sensitive country care, countryside management is really, really important. Thanks, Jay. So if we were to look at peatlands as a habitat, unfortunately we've not got any of these in this district. It's a wetland habitat predominantly made up of waterlogged soils, the soil of which is created from the decomposition of plant matter. It takes a very long time to produce peatlands, approximately 1,000 years for a square metre. And peatlands are often used in a lot of compost and things like that. It's fantastic growing material. But if we're taking away from it, it's going to take 1,000 years to replace it. So we can't quite match that. In the UK, only 3% of our land cover is of peatlands, and that 3% alone is storing 3.2 billion tonnes of carbon. It's a fantastic storage mechanism for carbon. However, of that land cover that we currently have, 80% of it is damaged, which means that it's now releasing carbon rather than storing it. That's not retrievable. It's definitely something that can be worked on and improved and protected, but it needs to start happening pretty soon. The main threats are extraction. As I was saying, it's a fantastic growing soil, so people want to grow their food with it. It's also being overgrazed by mammals, and it's also being burnt, be it via accident or via arson as well. Next slide, please, Jay. Looking a little bit closer to home, woodlands, another fantastic habitat, which we do have some beautiful ones in the district. They are another very powerful mechanism to help us with climate change. Approximately 400 tonnes of carbon is stored per hectare of native mixed woodland, which is phenomenal. This is partly due to the trees, but it's also due to the soil and to the effective management of the soil. At Country Care, we manage approximately 8 woodlands of various sizes, and we manage them with the aim to increase their biodiversity. With stronger biodiversity, with stronger species, they're more likely to help us with climate change, with storing everything, and we'll also protect them with longevity. So with woodlands, we always aim to have a range of tree species and of tree ages. This maintains the longevity of it. We don't lose them all at once. For example, with a monoculture or a plantation, one disease could wipe the whole lot out, or it could all be harvested at once as well. So as diverse as possible is always the best. Grasslands, we have plenty of these as well, and they're really valuable. I sometimes think they're overlooked a bit with the climate change issues, but they're again fantastic storages of carbon. In the UK, approximately 2 billion tonnes of carbon is stored in grasslands, And from 1990 to 2006, 14 million tonnes of carbon was released by grasslands being converted to arable or farming land. So it just shows the value of them and the value and the need to protect them as well. It's not just due to the grass or to the plants, it's due to the relationships between bacteria, fungi, plants and animals working together to enrich the soil with carbon, which both benefits the habitat itself and also with their carbon storage potential. They also have immense value for biodiversity, for pollination, and for the whole area in total. We're not all lost, and there's definitely lots that we can do to look after nature. I know at Country Care we're very passionate about making sure that we protect our habitats close to home. I think it's very easy to immediately look to the Amazon or look to the ice caps or the Serengeti, but there's plenty that we can do in this country to look after our own biodiversity. And just a few examples, things like surveying the wildlife. If we know what we've got, we know how to look after it. These are things that you could do maybe in your own school grounds. Do you know what species are in your hedgerow? Do you know what butterflies visit the flowers? Just very small things that really build up and are just as vital as buying an electric car or planting a tree. There's much smaller things that everyone can contribute to that will really make a difference. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Jess, for your presentation, and I hope the teachers will feed this back to schools and work with Country Care, work with the Country Care team to look at environmental projects for their areas. We are also adding 17 nature reserves to our youth activities map to encourage young people to discover the beauty of our local areas. And our youth activities map can be found on the Epping Forest District Council website. So please go have a look at that. I can't emphasise that enough.
Thank you to our 4 amazing guest speakers. Now it is time for the all-important break, so please listen carefully. During the break time, a photographer will be taking group photos for your school and for the Epping Forest District Council website, so please make sure you get a photo taken with your classmates. Please remember that this is a working environment to keep the noise to a minimum when using the corridors, and please stay on the left as the stairways and corridors are very narrow. Toilets are along the corridor near the refreshment area on the ground floor.
Youth counsellors will lead each school to the conference room on the ground floor for drinks and biscuits. Please do not move until your school has been called, as this enables us to move around the building safely. Thank you. Please move quickly when told, as we need to get you all seated downstairs. As I call your school name, please follow the assigned youth counsellors. We have 20 minutes, so please enjoy a drink, a biscuit or two, and grab a selfie with one of our guests. Please stand when your school has been called. Starting with Davenant Foundation School, please stand. Oscar and Archie, please raise your hands and lead the way.
Through here.
All right, Debden Park High School, please stand. Daniel and Matthew, please raise your hands and lead the way. Okay, and then Epping St John's, please stand. Finley and Lauren, please raise your hands and lead the way.
Does everyone have their numbers? Well, okie dokie. I don't know. Do I start?
Start, because we're not opening the floor until later.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Finley Wallbanks, and I'm a youth counsellor for the Ongar Academy. I hope all of you have had a brilliant day so far and will come away with the skills and information that will stick with you for life. I will be your chairman for the Epping Forest Youth Council Climate Action Debate. To my right is Daniel Turner, my vice chair, and to my left is Oscar Prosser, our dedicated timekeeper. Every debate has a chairman or speaker of the House. My role is to keep order, to ensure calm and concise debate, and as chair, I will only interrupt if points of information are too long, an irrelevant point is made, or if the noise level is too loud. The motion for the debate today is: this House believes the blocking of roads and other disruptions is the right way to get climate justice. Bianca Nedelka on my right will be proposing the motion, and Martin Prinsley on my left will be opposing the motion. The chairman opens the floor to debate the motion and ask for questions. Anyone can speak. If you would like to be heard, please raise your unique number card that some of us have. And my vice chair, Daniel, will note you down so I can later call upon you to speak. Members are required to speak for no longer than 1 minute in order to keep on time and ensure all 80 of us have a chance to chip in today. The proposer and opposer will take turns to try and persuade the audience that their argument is the best. Members from the audience may only ask 1 question. There may be time to ask 2 questions, but that's depending on time. We want to be fair to enable everyone to participate. The timekeeper will inform us 10 minutes before the end so we can begin closing statements, where I will ask for summaries from both the proposer, opposer, and Russell Muir, our independent advisor. All will vote except me, using your mobile phones and Mentimeter as we have previously used. Majority vote wins the debate, quite simple. And now for the frustrating part for many of you, the House must be split in 2. Those on Bianca's side will be arguing for the motion, that we should support the statement, and those on Martin's side will be arguing against the motion, that we should not support the statement. But do not fear, you will get time to express your personal opinions when we vote at the end of the session. Tips for the debate. Arguments should be short, snappy, and to the point. Aim for around 15 seconds. Please respect your fellow members of the House by listening to their arguments. If respect is not given, then a House becomes too noisy and no result will be reached. Confidence is a useful tool in the debate. It ensures that the opposition knows who you are and prepared with your facts. Use statistics. This strengthens the argument and can help persuade the opposition. Please remember to work as a team. Ensure your arguments are consistent and complementary. To start the debate, the proposer and opposer will make their opening speeches. After this, the debate will open to the rest of the House. This will be followed by the most important part of the day, the vote. Please make sure you're all sorted with Mentimeter to ensure your vote is counted. I will announce the results at the end of the vote. I would also ask that you use the term honourable member when addressing other people, and keep in mind that this is being live webcasted and may be used or shown in the future. Now, before we start, I'd like to say a few short things. This is your time to talk, not to have adults talk at you or other people talk over you. This is your time to stand up for what you believe in and get your point across, to make meaningful change to your fellow members' opinions. Now I ask Ms. Bianca Nedelka to please make her opening speech in favour of the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome everyone. This House believes that the blocking of roads and other disruptions is the right way to get climate justice. You hate these violent protests in fear for the safety of your community, but it is all the while tangible to fear this because the escalating impact of climate change will cause double the amount of damage if we choose to consistently lighten the gradient of useless peaceful protests. Alicia Garza, a co-founder of Black Lives Matter, said, "We don't have time to finger wag at protesters about property. That can be rebuilt. The stores will reopen. That's assured. What is not assured is our safety and real justice. Therefore, the destruction of property and disruptions due to said blocked roads are only minimal things compared to the severity of climate change, which will only increase if we continue to act in the same way. Some impacts of climate change include more frequent and intense droughts, storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and so on. Climate change is already causing over 150,000 deaths annually. As you can tell, these impacts are a lot more serious than the harm violent protests cause. Damage causes awareness, and therefore, because of that damage, people will act. There have been 500 arrests in the most recent Extinction Rebellion protest. Why is society criminalizing these protesters when they are advocating for social and climate justice, which is extremely beneficial to our society? The way the media portrays these protesters will obviously not gain a positive response from the public, which means that people will naturally have a negative view of disruptive protests. Without protesting, we do not have a way of getting climate justice. Without disruptive protests, we do not have a way of getting the government's attention. Let's think about why there is a need for disruptions and violent protests in the first place. The climate crisis is an emergency due to the government's inefficiency and ignorance, which calls for desperate action. Peaceful and non-violent protests are like metaphors for sitting back and passively letting the intensity of the problem advance. Supporting protests that do not cause disruptions is like promoting ignorance. Do you really think the future generations will benefit from this ignorance? Throughout history, disruptive protests have been proven to succeed. The suffragettes, whose motto was deeds, not words, used aggressive tactics to get people to listen. They achieved their goal in the end, which was to make the voting system fairer for women, which just evidences disruptive protests are effective. And for those reasons, this House agrees with the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Mr. Martin Prinsloo, if you could please make your opening speech against the statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The opposition believes that the blocking of roads and other disruptions is not the right way to get climate justice. When you see Insulate Britain gluing themselves to the M25 and stopping ambulances and people going to work, what do you think? Honourable members, when you see Extinction Rebellion climbing on trains and forcing people to drive in cars, what do you think? And then when the people do drive in cars, they stop the traffic, causing cars to idle and more fumes to go in the air. What do you think? When you see Extinction Rebellion smashing windows of Barclays, HSBC, JP Morgan, and the Ministry of Transportation, what do you think? They are demoralising people who want to make change in an effective way. Anger and frustration, while instrumental in stirring a society for mass change, groups such as Insulate Britain are merely creating drivers whose rage is becoming insurmountable. The manner of protest is important in this debate, and I want to make it clear that the opposition believes protesting is a fundamental human right necessary for a free and democratic society. We are debating on the most effective form of protest. Disruptions from Insulate Britain and Extinction Rebellion aren't thoughtful or effective. Rather than creating a society where people want climate justice, the people of Britain are getting irritated whenever they hear the phrase, "We want climate justice." We are suggesting that these groups come into schools, colleges and workspaces to talk about the effects of our carbon footprint on our world. We are suggesting that more people talk about climate change in a constructive and peaceful manner. We are suggesting peaceful demonstrations take place. We suggest people debate over these topics as we are now. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the opposition believes the blocking of roads and other disruptions is not the right way to get climate justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And now I open it up to all members of the House to debate. Please be cordial to your fellow members. No kicking, no punching. Remember also to turn on and off your microphone, the little button here, before and after you speak. Without further ado, who'd like to start? Wait. Did we miss a bit? Yes. Number 4.
It is bad as it obstructs children getting to school and blocking access to emergency vehicles, which has been causing extreme cases of road rage, and if ambulances and emergency vehicles cannot get to their locations, it can cause life or death emergencies.
Thank you very much, number 4. And number 6.
I agree with number 4, and I would also like to combat one of the statements said in the opening statement, that they're saying there is no reason to incriminate these people. And I would like to say the dictionary definition of terrorism is protesting that affects people that usually wouldn't necessarily have to be involved. And this is affecting the normal lives of people. So this would actually be, no matter how small, an act of terrorism. And as we all know, terrorism is illegal.
Thank you, number 76. Could we please have number 64, please?
Blocking of roads and other disruptions are the right way to get climate justice, as in the past, being disruptive has achieved change. An example of this is the suffragettes movement, as Bianca had said earlier, as they believed their cause needed to be extreme and disruptive to be noticed. Emily Davidson, who is one of the most well-known suffragettes, was sent to prison for 1 month. This shows that the breaking of laws and being disruptive is needed to be recognised by the government, even though it is frowned upon by many. This has also been shown by Wangari Maathai, who continued to fight for environmental conservation even after being arrested twice. Another example is Greta Thunberg, who began with a school strike when she was only 15 and is now an internationally recognised climate activist. This shows, even now at a young age like many of us here today, by speaking out and being disruptive, we can achieve climate justice.
Thank you very much. Number 39.
The blocking of roads forces people to make longer routes, negatively affecting the environment. Cars will emit more CO2 into the environment because they'll be running for much longer. The roads also block ambulances. A protester was asked whether they would let an ambulance with a dying patient pass. The protester replied with no. This shows how it could cause more potential injuries than solve anything. So do you really think this is the correct way for climate justice?
Number 54.
Going back to what number 39 said, one woman said, "I need to go to the hospital" during the protest, but protesters still refused to budge when she said this. Therefore, it is hurting people. Also, there were injuries from people gluing themselves to the roads. Is it really worth hurting all these people just to make a point?
Number 35.
Though we have to make sacrifices for this cause, it is a cause that is worth sacrificing for.
Just a quick reminder, you can raise your number cards at any time. Looking at you upper layers here. Haven't seen a lot of number cards from you, so come on. Number 62.
In a recent interview, the leader of Insulate Britain, Liam Norton, has called himself a hypocrite, adding he doesn't actually care about insulating homes, even though he's behind all of the roadblock protests. If he doesn't care about their main goal, why have they created so much unnecessary disruption? To be successful, shouldn't they really have a leader passionate about their aspirations?
Number 76.
Also, I would like to say the world is waking up, so there is no reason for this protesting to go on. I think we all know COP26 has happened recently, and they have discussed the matter a lot. I know because my aunt was there, she worked with David Attenborough, and as I said, the world is waking up.
Any questions? Number 63.
As if fuel-starved motorists don't have enough to contend to, waiting in the busy rush hours on the M25, trying to commute to work or get their children to school, or just undergo daily tasks. For an example, that could be undergoing your cancer treatment or hospital treatment that you need to keep you healthy. These people are infringing civil liberties. They're infringing human rights. And who gives them the right to do that? Can I remind you to this chamber today that the last people that did that the people that do this are terrorists and people that hold people captives, demanding the government for a particular set of values or they'll carry on doing what they do. We don't live in a country that does that. We live in a democracy which should welcome protesting, but not this form of protesting. This is not protesting, this is radicalism.
Any speeches against that? .33.
Moscovici was a psychologist who focused on how a minority group influenced the majority. He proposed that to be successful, the group has to be committed, consistent, and flexible. It's quite obvious that people blocking roads to get climate justice are committed to their cause. They're putting themselves in harm's way to show that they care. This has gained the attention of the media and the public. Moscovici suggests that if a minority can get the majority discussing and debating their cause, then the influence is stronger. Their strategies are also flexible. They have blocked multiple motorways, organised events, and raised money for direct action. It was said that if the minority group appear flexible and compromising, they will change the majority's views. It is clear that the movement is consistent. Insulate Britain have been blocking roads since the 13th of September 2021. It's now the 19th of November and they are still going. Moscovici established that if a group is definite in their goals, they are more likely to succeed. We can all agree that they are clear on what they're fighting for. In conclusion, the blocking of roads is consistent, committed, and flexible, and therefore will succeed.
Number 76.
I think, as 62 said, the leader of the protesters, number 62 is over there, has said that they don't care about the cause. So I don't think that statement will have as much value as you would had expected.
Number 8.
Sorry. Disruptive protests are an efficient use of the snowball theory. This is when the minority begin to persuade the public around their way of thinking. As the snowball effect begins to take effect, more and more people will begin to adopt the minority's opinion. Once awareness is spread, the minority will become the majority. An example of this is the amount of UK household recycling has risen significantly from 2000 when it was 11% to 2020 when it was 67.2%. This shows that the minority has affected the public view. The disruptive protests have the same effect by encouraging those who are hesitant due to living a comfortable life and are in fear of what could happen if they were to be arrested. This is somewhat similar to the hidden curriculum where people are taught conformity and obedience and still carry these values due to social order. The effect of the snowball theory changes people's views due to the minority encouraging them to help the movement to become the majority.
Number 5.
The only attention it is gaining is negative. As Martin has already stated, as All people are seeing is people disturbing everyone's daily lives. And this does nothing. It causes frustration and anger on the subject, instead of spreading awareness to make a difference. And this is not what people want to get, what they're trying to get towards people. They're trying to cause awareness, but they're doing it in a wrong way. They're doing it in a way that people won't want to listen to them. And this is just not how they're supposed to be doing it.
Do we have a number 79?
Everyone who has ever existed has shared this planet, and this is the way to save it. Without blocking off streets, climate change wouldn't be treated as seriously as it is. It's a rising problem, and if we don't get it under control now, it could be fatal.
Number, is that 58? Yeah, nice.
By blocking the roads, it's frustrating people and it's going to annoy them more than encourage them to insulate their homes. It will be much better, instead of blocking the roads, annoying people and making more enemies, it's going to be better for them to do it in a more better way, like debating.
Number, is that 35? Wait, yeah, number 35.
Protesters have already tried using peaceful methods, but they've all failed. That's why they've turned to violence.
$32.
If we're saying violence is the answer, that's not really the way we want our world to be saved. If we're using violence, that's not creating a happy world and a clean world. It's just creating a world that we save from violence and unfairness.
Number 37.
So a question for the Honourable Party. I've had a lot of discussion about civil chats and debating, but obviously COP26, they've had 26 years of meetings from 1995. So what now is your proposal? What is the civil chat we need to have to understand the now irreversible action of climate change? How much longer are we going to sit and chat about it before there is no future for us?
Martin?
Going back to the point of suffragettes having to take extreme measures to cause a real change, they were treated harshly, they were treated horribly, and they had to take extreme measures to be heard. They were human beings, and they had a right to do that. They were doing the right thing, and they smashed windows, they glued themselves, they didn't eat in the prisons, and that is right because they had a right. People who are blocking roads, I want to ask you, are you fine with windows being smashed? If you owned a restaurant, if your window is smashed because they're saying climate change, we need justice, would you be happy if your window is smashed for that reason? Maybe you have insurance, but say you didn't have insurance, would you still be happy? XR, Extinction Rebellion, they are heard. Their protests have made a change, but they don't need to carry on. If you are saying it's okay, the police should stop them, but they're not. And that is an anarchy. They're losing control of our country, and that must stop.
Number 10. 10? 10?
The opposition may argue that the protests for climate justice are not worth the frustration of drivers on the road. And yes, sacrifices have to be made in order for climate justice. A little frustration is very little in comparison to the millions of lives that will be lost if nothing is done about the climate.
21.
Would you call the loss of lives a small issue?
$79.
Even though blocking off roads may be annoying to people, this may be one of the ways that we could help save our world. Protests have been one of the main ways people have been able to change things in the world.
$49.
Governments and scientists have already found the facts and solutions. However, they just need to be put into action. The disruptive protests are not needed as the government have already started acting upon it.
Lauren.
Like Bianca said, something such as a broken window, Martin, it can be fixed. It's not the end of the world. It's something that's going to get you thinking about what's happening right now. Climate change hasn't just been around recently, yet why are we only speaking about this now? The peaceful protests do not work, otherwise we would not be here today debating to come to a consensus on whether fighting for something is right or wrong.
78.
A more effective way of raising awareness would be by thinking from the point of view of the young and upcoming generation. This destructive way of protesting has no reason to cause any impact on the younger people. All that blocking the roads does is lead to news articles and videos spreading virally online, making the genuine cause look shameful and stupid. As I was just saying, one much more effective way of spreading the word of this issue could be by using famous social media stars that the younger generation look up to. It is clear to see that famous content creators can create a vast impact on young people, for example, influencing their clothing style, looks, and interests. So therefore, by making these influences raise awareness and express these ideas of acting for climate change, the younger generations who look up to these people will listen and take on these beliefs. There are many much more effective ways like this that need to be explored instead of the terrible terroristic acts like blocking the roads.
Number 70.
Coming back to the argument of whether or not losing lives is a serious issue, when you compare that to the millions of lives that could be lost if we let climate change carry on, it is a very serious issue, and that's why we believe that we need to have these protests that are extreme, because that's the only way we can get our point across to save millions of lives.
Number 61.
You said earlier in your opening statement, and just again earlier, that peaceful and non-violent protests are useless and do not work. But this mindset is completely ignorant and ignores massive parts of the world's history. Peaceful protests have and do work, as demonstrated through the bus boycott, the civil rights movement, and the singing revolution, where Estonians fought against Soviet occupying through singing in the streets.
37.
Recently, Boris Johnson has stated that the COP27 climate summit is at serious risk of failure because countries are still not promising enough to restrict global temperature rises below 1.5 degrees. This blunt admission and the graveness of our current situation was repeatedly reinforced as he continued to label the situation as 1 minute to midnight, calling the commitments made so far a drop in the rapidly warming ocean. The severity of the climate crisis is crystal clear, yet even after 26 years, we are still not making the significant change we so desperately need. The method of blocking roads and creating disruptions is so effective because it is disruptive. A disruptive protest will get attention and create space for debate, as we are debating here today, placing light on a previously underrepresented issue, such as the funding of the installation of all social housing. If it can't be ignored, a response is formed, and this helps to create accountability. We talked about breaking the windows of a restaurant, but we're breaking the windows of our society with the climate crisis. Climate change in itself is anarchy. Would you call the imminent mass extinction of our future civilization a small issue? And on top of that, I'd like to ask the Honourable Party if anyone has a reference for the deaths caused by Insulate Britain and the Mass Extinction Rebellion.
Number 3.
I'd like to state that 93% of non-violent protests lead to a political change, while only 23% of violent protests lead to a change. So it shows that non-violent protests clearly have a bigger impact than violent protests.
Elisa.
I thought it was vital to mention that the 1917 Earth Day peaceful protest has caused nothing to change. There's been no progress since then, and since that year, CO2 emissions have raised to an exceeding rate. Therefore, this peaceful protest was ineffective. Also, peaceful protest with students is more likely to be a died-out trend in the next few years. The devastating truth of this is that these protests are used more like a trend for young people to stand out in the media instead of actually permitting a cause. In a broader perspective, the Supreme Court of the United States claimed that in response to climate action, protesters blocking roads can be lawful to demonstrate. There is a degree of tolerance to this disruption caused by the right to protest. Now, my right honourable opposer stated about the Insulate Britain's ineffectiveness. However, a representative for Insulate Britain claimed that they are not out to target motorists and disruptive action so people sit up and take notice, and they did not mean to cause inconvenience to the public.
12.
The disruptions these protests have been creating are only making people angry, and the type of angry that makes people not want to help or create any change. It's only that means these protests are not effective and they will not work.
Sonny.
Mr. Speaker, today we've heard from the members opposite a lot about disruptive protest and violent protest. But what does that really mean? What are we debating today is disruptive protest, because you can organise a protest about just about anything alongside the police where they will block the roads for you. This still leads to severe disruption for people. This still leads to them having to change directions and idle their cars in traffic. But what is the difference? One of them is that the media will flock towards these disruptive protests that are not organised because the media haven't been informed of them and they think it's a big event. The other one, they won't go to at all. It is building the media will report on this, and it was building the rapport with the people. It is making it headline news. Thank you.
I have some good news. As we started late, we have an extra 5 minutes. But I do ask that those of you who have gone before, please refrain from going again, just because we want to get through as many questions as we can. Thank you. Number 46.
It's been previously stated that there has been 26 other conferences, but in that time we have changed massively as a global society, and that change is making a big difference to our community.
69.
The news of these protests have been covered all over England, which is giving them the publicity that they need, because the government is not doing enough to stop this climate crisis. They're acting like school children leaving their homework until the last minute, and it will soon be too late.
'56.
Earlier, the Honourable Party used the example of Greta Thunberg. Greta is a great example of a young person, just like me and you, who's striving towards climate justice, but she's doing this without infringing on people's civil liberties. We are not a country who should allow people to protest when it impacts people's everyday democracy, as Councillor Archie Flynn previously stated.
'79.
If we don't take a stand now, the younger generation will have to suffer the consequences. Parents do all they can to protect their children. Parents that are protesting just want to protect their children's future, wouldn't you? At least they are trying to do something to help society instead of doing nothing.
Number 5.
The desperation of the quick need to inform the public of the constant growth of climate change is clouding the thought process of the protesters. Blocking roads, disrupting the public of fulfilling their daily duties, be it transporting their child to school or going to work or rushing someone to the hospital for vital treatment. This creates anger. This creates a hatred towards what they are protesting for. The media projects the anger of the public. The message the protesters are trying to pass are being overshadowed by the disruption they're causing, allowing the information to be twisted into something that will not be taken seriously and the message will not be delivered. More effective ways of protesting is talks in a busy place or going on in the road with posters on a red light instead of putting themselves at risk.
Number 38.
The government may notice a crash if no one can go to work, which means that climate action could actually happen because the government would be more inclined to actually do something.
Matthew Carter.
What is the end goal? What do we want to achieve? A happy, clean, bright future? How do we expect to achieve it? Through violence and through pure tyranny? See, that's not possible. There is no time in history where violence is equaled in happiness and the future being a great future. See, the methods of movement are key into the end goal. The end goal is to have a good future and to have a clean, happy environment to live in, yet you make a dangerous and violent place to live in.
All right, I'm sorry to say, but that's... yeah, okay. Last questions, that's a 10-minute warning now. So we have the last questions, we have 63.
May I remind the Right Honourable Member that the COP summits are a highly successful summit. It's not been any time in history where that many people have come together collectively. May I remind you, 30,000 people were at COP26, as well as hundreds of world leaders, right? The big problem here isn't us. It's leaders, it's the countries that couldn't give a monkeys about politics, couldn't give a monkeys about climate change. We should be focusing on them. So I have a motion and something that I can present to you guys today. How about we get these protesters, we say, rather than protesting here in London, a place which is fair, just, go to Russia, go to China, where there's actually a problem, where they still admit a third of all world climate change emissions. And do we succeed by doing this, I ask you? Yes, because once they listen, we'll all listen. May I remind you also that the last time anyone pressured to do a government something was 1936 in the establishment of Hitler under Article 33, which gave Hitler supreme power over the German parliament. What I'm implying to you is that these people are trying to deliberately pressure a government under violence. And that war that started in 1945 led to the second biggest gathering of leaders, which was the Geneva Convention of 1946, overtaken by COP26. There we go. Climate change matters, people.
I'm sorry, I don't think I explained it very well last time, but that's the 10 minutes left. We can't take any more numbers. I have the last questions here, and in 10 minutes, we will close the debate and ask for summaries from both the opposing and proposing sides and our independent advisor, Russell Meir. So, number 76.
I don't think anyone has pointed this out yet, but children have been protesting as well. I would just like to say, you're all saying that the parents would protect the world for their children, but you're teaching the future of humanity that this violence is the correct way to get what you want, and the future of humanity will do more violent protests just like this if we are teaching them to do that now.
Number 4.
People are being seriously injured by protesting. Have you seen the videos where people have been driven into, have ink sprayed on them, and are in violent areas?
Thank you, number 4. Number 58. Number 58.
The M4 blockade was cleared by 9 a.m. with 13 arrests made. If blocking the roads and protesting was acceptable and the right way to get climate justice, then why were so many arrests made?
35.
The arrests were made because the police support that the police believe that there shouldn't be any violent protests, even though they'd be a lot faster than peaceful protests.
Okay. Honourable members, I'm sorry to... wrong part. Members, we have now reached the end of the debate. If Miss Bianca Nedelcu would like to summarise the four arguments.
Thank you to all members of the House for their arguments. To conclude, I strongly believe that disruptive advocacy for social and climate justice should not be criminalised. Voting for the motion implies you are supporting a way of protest that will get climate action. We must all look to history, to protests that have worked, and realise that disruption is the only method that does work in this crisis. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Mr. Martin Prinsloo, if you would like to summarise the against argument.
Thank you and well done, honourable members. I am glad that we are debating over this disrupting and anarchy. I just want to end this debate with one point. The only way climate change is affecting people in Epping, in London, right now, is through their lives being disrupted. This is giving a negative view to climate change, and therefore people won't care. We must be peaceful, and we must look at climate change in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Russell Muir, would you like to give your findings on the debate of the House?
Okay. So we all want climate justice. The proposers are suggesting that peaceful protest is a waste of time and that direct action is the only way forward. It's fast and it's effective. And they use history to learn from that and to show us the way forward. They see it as a worthwhile sacrifice to make, that the damage to property is a small price to pay, and that the bigger picture is what we should be aiming for. The opposers are saying that peaceful protest is the right way forward, and that direct action is like an act of terrorism, and that it's wrong, and that people and property are suffering, that we hear about emergency vehicles not getting through, and that that's wrong. They're suggesting that climate change comes through education. Change comes through education and peaceful demonstration. They talk about debate, that we should have more of these debates in society, and that will bring about change, that we can use celebrities on the world stage as well, and that we can also go to other countries and bring about change. There's a lot of good points being made here today, and I think they're all valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell Muir. It's now time to vote. Using your phones, please get onto Mentimeter, and the code is on the screens around us and up here, obviously. And it is 359-254-62. Good luck. Oh. Wait, it's not. Only 47% of us have voted just yet. Well, not 47, 51 of us have voted.
Oh, where's the PowerPoint gone?
There we go. How many? Say again? 61. That seems to be it. And now the voting has ended. I believe that's all of us have voted now. And the results are 60. They're still coming in. Come on, guys. Stop using your right. So, I think I'm going to call it now. So, the results are in. 47% have voted in favour of the motion, that this House believes that the blocking of roads and other disruptions is the right way to get climate justice. They've voted against, and 60% have voted against the motion, that this House believes that the blocking of roads and other disruptions is the right way to get climate justice. Congratulations to Martin and the opposing side for winning today's debate. And thank you to all of those who involved themselves in the debate and the debating team themselves. Give yourselves a round of applause. And now the debate and webcast will conclude, and you can all watch it again on the Epping Forest District Council website, so you can all cringe at what you may have said, or maybe be prideful. I think it's lunch now, right?
No.
And Martin, who each gave an excellent argument for the motion. The Vice Chair Daniel and Timekeeper Oscar. I would like to welcome our next panel of guest speakers. On the top table, I have two of the youngest elected councillors for Essex and Epping Forest District. Please welcome Councillor Holly Whitbread and Councillor Jamie McIver. They were both youth councillors. Holly joined the Epping Forest Youth Council in 2008 and was a founder member. Jamie joined the Youth Council in 2012 and served as a member of the Young Essex Assembly. They are joined by the current members of the Young Essex Assembly. Please welcome Kemi from Davenant Foundation School and Martin Prinsloo from Davenant Foundation School. Councillor Whitbread, would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely, and it's great to be here because when I was portfolio holder for this area, actually it was during COVID, so my youth conference was cancelled, unfortunately. So it's really good to be here in person. And compared to Jamie, I am somewhat of a veteran. I've been doing this for quite a few years now, but it's really fantastic to hear you all engaged in such important topics here today. I think we can all agree, whatever our political beliefs or persuasions, climate change is one of the key challenges that we have to face. And your generation, it's important you're talking to us and people in power and in control and making sure that we get things done. So it is really positive to be here today. If it's appropriate, I'm just going to talk a bit through my experience over the last couple of years and why I got involved in local politics. So as you said, I was on the Youth Council in 2008, which was a long time ago now, and a real long time ago. And I joined, I think I was about 13 years old when I joined, and I loved it. It was a really good way of understanding how local government works, the challenges that local government faces, and also understanding the importance of local government to our communities. And it was a real eye-opener. And actually, one thing I found really useful is the kind of CV building skills that you got as a youth councillor. So from public speaking, which I do on a regular basis now, can never stop me talking, although not as much as Councillor Patel. And it's really useful skills. And as well, team building and working with other people your age and really getting an opportunity to understand what the people around you believe. I was elected as a district councillor in 2016. When I came back from university, I was first elected as a Epping Town Council in 2015, and then the year later I joined the district council, and I've loved it. During that time, I chaired the Community Select Committee, and then I became the Cabinet Member for Housing in 2019. During the pandemic, I also took on the Community Brief, which was extremely busy during the pandemic, as you can imagine, but I got to work with the Youth Council, particularly on your fantastic project on My Life, which was really interesting, and also a lot of the work that Jill's team were doing in engaging with the most vulnerable in the community during the lockdown period. My real focus over my time as a councillor in the last few years has been housing. So one area which we're particularly focusing on is council house regeneration and council house building, which is something I'm really passionate about, and it's actually something that we're breaking the mould here in Epping Forest with, delivering, I think, 500 new homes over the next few years, but that's always increasing, and we're trying to deliver them in the most positive way and help shape our communities in a positive, forward-looking way for the future. And we're always listening to youth voices on that, because ultimately it's you who are going to be living in our communities moving forward. I'm also an Essex County Councillor, elected in May 2021 this year, where I'm deputy to the deputy leader, and I do work actually on youth engagement and chair the local YSG, which is the youth strategy group, as well as looking at libraries, which is very interesting. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of my kind of political career up until now and my involvement in the council and local government. I've also been involved nationally. I stood as a parliamentary candidate up in Hull. Didn't win as a Tory in a very Labour city, but it was a really enjoyable experience. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of my experience, and I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Holly. That is very inspiring. I'm sure there are many young people in this room today that would like to follow your career path. Next, I would like to welcome Councillor Jamie McIver to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, conference. What a fantastic morning you've had. I've been so impressed by the very well-researched points that you've all made, outstanding contributions from both sides, and I have to say I did have an opinion before I came to the chamber. My opinion hasn't changed, but was very closely swayed, and I'm very, very impressed by you all, clearly future superstars, and I would not want to stand in an election against anybody in this chamber. I'm Councillor Jamie McIver. I'm a very proud district councillor for Northfield Bassett. Anyone from Northfield? Put your hand up. I knew you were from Northfield. There was something about the way you spoke. No, I'm joking. Fantastic place. I'm very proud to represent it. Anyone here from Ongar? Excellent. Two of the best places in our district. And of course, anyone here from the villages? The rural villages that when you say you live there, no one knows where it is? Yeah, I know the feeling. I live in one of those too. Well, everyone is, of course, welcome. And it's really lovely to see that so many different parts of our district are represented today. And I think it's so important that we all share our opinions, and this is such an important topic. And of course, it's this council that, of course, declared a climate emergency before COP became a fashionable word, because we are all completely dedicated, whether you're a councillor, an officer, a youth councillor, to what is a climate emergency. And I think it's so important that we're really putting this debate to this chamber. And of course, I'm often referred to as the Ian Beale of the Youth Council, because I'm one of the early beginners, but veteran Whitbread here has taken that from me, that's for sure. And I think there's definitely some future councillors in this chamber today, and it would be wonderful to see so many young people come through and become councillors, because we often hear politicians say we need more young people to be involved, but then how many politicians actually actively get young people involved? And so I really do want to say, you know, you've got in both myself and Councillor Holly Whitbread a true friend and ally to any of you that have aspirations. And if it's not in politics and it's in something else, politics isn't just about standing to be a councillor. There's political life as well, being a campaigner, being an activist, changing your community for the better. And as a district and county councillor, of course, there's huge responsibilities, and I'm more than happy to speak to any of you during the lunch break or at a later date if any of you do have those aspirations. I think it's fantastic you're making your mark. I remember being a member of the Young Essex Assembly, and I'm looking at these fantastic campaigns that you've got around the chamber today. And of course, the UK Youth Parliament really does make its mark. And what you're doing today is contributing to what the Youth Parliament will debate. And I think that's really important. So just my advice to you all as young people, and clearly talented young people, because I don't think there's anyone I've listened to that I haven't thought, wow, what great contributions. Always listen to the advice that you're given. I'm really, really good at listening at advice, but I don't always act on advice, because only you know what's right for you. Only you know what's right for your life. So my advice to you as young people, no matter what your future aspirations are, whether that be going to university, getting an apprenticeship, starting your own business, whatever your aspiration is, always listen to advice. Take that advice. Let your brain be a sponge to all of the advice, because people do give really good advice. And then decide what advice is right for you. And when you decide what advice is right for you, throw yourself at your dreams, throw yourself at your passion, break down all of the obstacles that might be in front of you. And some of those obstacles may be surprise obstacles, and they're the best ones when you do break them down. And thoroughly enjoy what you're doing when you're doing it. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to, of course, the Youth Council and fantastic team for putting on such a great show. Excellent chairs that have been in this chair today. And I really do look forward to getting to know you all a bit later on. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jamie. It's another inspiring story for us all to hear. But next, I would like to welcome the current members of the Young Essex Assembly to say a few words about their work. Kemi and Martin.
So, hi, as you've already been told, my name is Kemi and I'm part of the YEA, which stands for the Young Essex Assembly. The Young Essex Assembly is an elected youth council for Essex, supported by the Youth Services. Every 2 years, 75 young people are elected to become members, and within each year, 6 members are elected to represent Essex nationally as members of Youth Parliament. Being part of the YEA has given us so many unique opportunities to work alongside various organisations in Essex and nationally, such as the police forces and crime commissioners. Also, being able to meet people who talk to us about different ways to help us make a future by taking action on things that are affecting them. We are also given training on public speaking, which has really helped boost our skill set and our confidence. This year, we've been working on a few projects and have been able to collaborate with Alter Ego on a project called The Unacceptable. This is about women's safety and how we can also keep youth safe when they're walking around on the streets. Now I'm going to pass it on to YEA to talk about the experiences we have both gotten from being in the YEA.
So I'm Martin. I'm a youth councillor, as you can see, and I got the opportunity of being part of the YEA through Diane. So I'm going to say a few opportunities the YEA has given people. So we've made short films and documentaries to support young people during COVID-19. We've had opportunities to speak directly to MPs about careers in politics. We have had the chance to be on interviewing panels, and that has enhanced our personal skills in communication and professionalism. We've been on residentials that help with team building skills and starting initiatives for new campaigns. We go to council chambers and have debates and discuss our agendas for the new year at the beginning of the next year, each year. And also, we have local link projects based on topics voted by our young constituents to improve our local communities. So some examples of our projects are tackling knife crime, raising awareness of mental health, climate change, and many, many more, such as unacceptable, which Kemi has already mentioned.
As a whole, we strive to review and prioritise and consult young people, as well as campaign to make a better difference for all our futures. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please just ask.
We have a question over there, Finley Wallbanks.
Well, at the beginning of each year, your school should get an email about it, and you'll get slips, and you'll sign up for the YEA, and you'll sign up. When signing up, you have to write a speech to show how much you want to help make a better difference for youth futures. Like I did, I wrote a speech and I got into the YEA. So if you write a speech and you send it in to one of our youth councillors in the beginning of each year, you'll be able to join. But if the year's already passed and you haven't been able to sign up, you can join as a youth champion. You don't get to vote when we take our debates, but it's still a way for you to get a hang of it before you join the YEA.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions which can be addressed to Holly, Jamie, Kemi or Martin? Okay, so carrying on, I would like to say thank you to all of our guests for sharing their stories, and I wish them all the best as they continue to serve their community. As a member of the Epping Forest Youth Council, I would like to stress what a great opportunity it is to learn about your community and to feel that you are making a difference. There are only 25 seats up for grabs next spring, and I would highly recommend joining. You never know, in a few years' time, you may be sitting up here with Holly, Jamie, Kemi and Martin. I would now like to introduce Youth Councillor Lauren Marks to say a few words.
Thank you, Sammy. My name is Lauren Marks and I've been a youth councillor since April 2020 and I represent Roding Valley High School. My experience as a youth councillor has been amazing. My main reason for joining the youth council, as you can see on the poster behind, is to give young people a voice in the community. It is us who will be shaping our future, so it should be us making the decisions. We joined during the first lockdown, so all our meetings and trainings were on Zoom. As the lockdown eased, we began to meet in small bubbles at the Lambourne End Outdoor Education Centre. We took part in team building games and had a great deal of fun, getting to know each other as we represent 9 secondary schools in the district. During 2020 and 2021, we took on many projects that I'm incredibly proud of. Our first project was making a short film about COVID-19. We talked about how we were coping as young people. We designed a survey to find how our peers were feeling too. In May, we created My Life C19, which you can see on your masks. It's a mental health awareness and wellbeing programme that schools can deliver remotely or in the classroom. We've had almost 1,000 pupils sign up to the programme, and next year we will report back our findings to the adult counsellors. The youth elections. The youth elections will be in February 2022. So, if you are interested in being a youth counsellor, you must be in Year 8 and above, you must live in the Epping Forest district, and you must also want to make a difference in your community. The closing date is Friday the 11th of February. You can apply online and your teachers will have nomination forms in their packs. Thank you.
I believe we are running slightly behind schedule, but is it still okay? Oh, brilliant. Ahead, I meant. So is it still okay to call for lunch? Okay, so it is now lunchtime. You have 40 minutes for lunch. Please remember this is a working environment, so please keep noise to a minimum when using the corridors, and please stay on the left as the stairways and corridors are very narrow. Toilets are along the corridor near the refreshment Yo. Yo.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon. The world's people have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is running out.
The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now is 50% higher than it was in 1900. And not only are we piling in more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but we are chopping down the forests of the earth at a great rate. And the forests themselves are the most efficient consumers of carbon dioxide that there are on Earth. We're going to destroy the ground because the soil of a rainforest isn't very good. We are actually tampering with the climate of the Earth and with the very atmosphere that we breathe. When we talk about the disappearance of the ozone layer, we don't know what will happen when the ozone layer goes. The world has become so fragile that we cannot subject the Earth to the tortures we can now inflict upon it. When we talk about the greenhouse effect, we're talking about something that affects the entire Earth. And these problems are life and death problems. They go to the root of the viability of the planet itself. If there's one thing that is biologically certain about the human species is that it is a human species, one species.
If we don't stop the destruction of our natural world, nothing else will matter. Simply put, if we don't protect nature, we can't protect ourselves.
The only way we can solve a problem is by a human solution. Never can we sit back and wait for miracles to save us. Miracles don't happen. Sweat happens. Efforts happens. Thought happens.
Hello, and welcome back to the Council Chamber. This film is by Philip Capadia and is available on YouTube. It highlights that we must wake up. We must make changes to how we live today. My name is Daniel Turner. I would like to welcome our two guest speakers from Essex County Council. They are Seb Maxim and Tom Yango. Thank you, Seb and Tom.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here. I've very much enjoyed today so far. I was a particular fan of the debate. A lot of people made a lot of points that I wouldn't have thought of. I was really impressed by it. I just don't want to get in an argument with any of you because I know I'll lose. Unfortunately, we did have a PowerPoint. Unfortunately, technical issues mean that we've got no reference. So, excuse me and Tom for reading off here. We've got this is a prompt, but it'll be fine. We'll be able to crack on without it. So, Me and Tom are employed by Essex County Council, but we work as part of the Essex Climate Action Commission communications team, right? And we'll get more into what that is later. My first question for everyone, and this is a hands up, who likes a challenge? Good. I was sort of worried when I prepared that slide that no one would say yes, and in which case I would have had to head off and have an early night. But thank you very much for putting your hands up. That's brilliant. We'll get to the challenge later, but before we do that, we'll sort of bore you with the details about the Climate Action Commission. So it was set up in October 2019 to advise the council on how best to combat climate change. We have over 30 commissioners, including Councillor Whitbread, who was here earlier. She's one of the newest members of the commission. We also have 2 young chairs from the co-chairs for the Young Essex Assembly. So we honestly feel that youth engagement is the key for climate change. So it's brilliant to see so many of you here today. Essex Climate Action Commission has made a series of over 120 different recommendations to Essex as a county on how we can combat climate change, and the council will be formally responding to those recommendations next week, actually. Tom is just going to talk you through a couple of the recommendations that they have related to schools, so I'll let you take it away.
Cheers, Seb. Yeah, so as Seb has mentioned about the Essex Climate Action Commission, one of our real key targets at the moment is to engage young people. And so one of the key ways to do that is by communicating and improving how schools react to climate change. One of our, in fact, well, quite a few of our goals and our aims and recommendations involve getting schools to carbon neutrality by 2030, which is 20 years in front of our main goal of getting to net zero by 2050. But we want all new schools to be built net zero, and we want that to be achieved by 2022. We want all schools to be built carbon positive, and we want that to be achieved by 2030. And carbon positive is referring to actually sucking in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, so going way beyond emitting carbon dioxide and actually taking it to the reverse. And for current buildings, we think it's really important that current buildings are to be retrofitted. And I don't know if any of you have heard of the phrase retrofitting, and if you haven't, it's essentially the process of transforming an old building, which could be pretty inefficient and leaky, letting out heat, and then turning it into something that is much more efficient, updating it with new technology that makes it carbon neutral. So to have all schools retrofitted in Essex by 2030 is our goal. So we also have another aim, which is the School Streets Initiative, and that's to get essentially travel to and from school to be a bit more sustainable. And that can be done through active transport, through public transport, and we want everyone here to think about how they get to school and also how schools can improve how each of their pupils get to school. So we want to be thinking more towards getting to school without using a car individually and trying to make that either a community process or still an individual process, just doing it by bike or by walking. So as I've said, it's a really important part of our report here, which I think each of you have got in your school now. We have this big report full of recommendations and key points, and a lot of that is going to be focused on schools. So it's really good to see so many of you here engaged. And it's available online. We have a little example. It's a shame we don't have the slides, as we said, because we have a nice picture of one of Essex's first net zero school. And I'll just describe it to you in word form, because it's, I'd love to show it to you, but you won't be able to see it. It's got solar panels all over the roofs, and it basically has a modular building, which essentially doesn't use any heating. It creates all of its electricity on site through renewable means, and so it has absolutely no impact on the planet whatsoever, apart from positive ones. So we think that's a great model to head towards. And so for that reason, we've set up a schools toolkit, which will be available soon, probably within the next few months, which will be available for all schools in Essex, should they be looking for it. And it will contain a series of recommendations from how you get to school, from how you empower your school, and through how you teach in the school, and how you learn, and it will essentially be covering all of those topics and giving you education and also tips and guidance on how to be more sustainable when you're in the learning place. And it is such an important thing for us to concentrate on schools with this because, well, 42% I think of households in the UK have school children. So what you learn in school then gets taken back everywhere else. And so you're in a really, really important place and position of influence and power as school children. So we think that the more you learn about climate change, the more you learn about what you can do, the better, because that will spread through society and the community.
Cool. So in addition to the schools toolkits, we've also got sustainability toolkits, which will be coming available. It's in the preparation stage of that, so it's quite a way off. But that's Essex County Council are putting £35,000 towards different sustainability toolkits that 50 schools in Essex will bid for. Hopefully they can all go to Epping Forest schools, but we can't make any promises. And they'll contain different environment items. So, for example, seeds to plant, composting tips, and it just, it's a way that we think that schools can become a greener place and hopefully, the key term once again, move towards net zero. But, so there are all the details. We'll get back to the challenge, right? And we actually have two challenges. The first one is a collective challenge, right, for everyone in this room, all right? And that is to get your schools to sign up to the Let's Go Zero campaign. If you want to explain a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, sure. So the Let's Go Zero campaign is essentially bringing schools together. I will turn my screen around just to show you the logo because it looks like this, and if you ever see that, then it's a good sign because it's getting essentially as many schools as possible across the country to get to net zero emissions by 2030. And again, this is what we've planned for schools to aim for in Essex, but it's not just focusing on Essex. You're actually going to, as part of Let's Go Zero, learn from other schools across the country what they've done, how you can implement that in your school, and use it as a source of inspiration, but also collective action. So what's happening with Let's Go Zero at the moment in England is really inspiring, and I think you will learn a lot from it, so why not sign up? What have we got here?
Amateur.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. So the thing I would say about Let's Go Zero campaign is brilliant. And I honestly think this is a chance for Epping Forest as a district to sort of lead the way throughout the county of Essex by becoming the first district with all schools signed up to it. So nag your teachers about it, keep going on, try and get them to sign up to it, campaign, whatever you need to do, try and get as many schools in Epping Forest signed up to the Let's Go Zero campaign. It's brilliant. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is the Climate Action Challenge Fund. Okay, and this is your opportunity to leave a green legacy at your school. Okay, that's not going to last for 1 year or 2 years, it's going to last forever. Okay, and what that is Essex County Council are essentially giving away free money, £20,000, to anyone that can come up with a solution to a key climate problem that is happening around their school, right? And just to go into how the fund works a little bit, there will be a link which I'll get you to note down at the end so you can read more about it. But you'll need to decide on a project with your fellow students or teachers or by yourself if you feel that's best how you work best. There'll be an application form on that link that I just mentioned, which you'll need to fill in. You'll need to explain what you want to do, what effect your project will have on the environment, and also how much you think your project might cost, okay? So it's fairly comprehensive, but it's a brilliant scheme, and it's first come, first served. And everyone in this room today is lucky enough, you are the first district that we've presented this to, right? So not many other people know about it. So it's first come, first served. Get in there as quickly as possible, because it's a brilliant scheme, £20,000. Who doesn't love free money, It's a lot of money, and it can make a real difference, not just to your school, but also to your area, and create a bit of legacy for yourself. So Tom will just talk you through an example of one school that we've had who have run similar campaign to that.
Yeah, so as Seb said, there's nobody that's actually been applying, no schools that have applied for the funding yet, and it is a huge opportunity to just transform how your school works, and you won't have to fork out from your own pockets, and that's the whole thing. We're encouraging that to happen. And one of the really great standout examples is Danbury Park Community Primary School. And this is a school not too similar in terms of its environment to the Epping schools, because we're right next to a big forest in Danbury. And they've really brought holistic measures to make their school much more focused on the environment compared to many other schools. They've installed renewable energy. They've installed also a smart meter to measure how much energy they're using on a daily basis. And they've then made a process where they can discuss and deliberate how they can reduce that energy consumption. And that has led them to take various initiatives and ideas forward, including just one simple thing, which was to turn on the ovens in their canteen 1 hour later. And this not only reduced their carbon consumption by quite a significant amount, but it also reduced their annual cost by £2,000 in the canteen. So it saves a lot of money when you actually measure how much energy you're using, but it also saves a lot of on your impact on the planet. So there are various benefits to really homing in on what you're doing and how you can improve it. And there are plenty of other examples of projects going around in the county at the moment. One of them is quite a few schools in North Essex that have designed modular buildings, which, as I said before, mean that they're not using any heating or cooling systems. They recycle the air. So there's really, really good technology that it's ready to go, it's ready to use, and it's not too expensive. There's stuff to help you with it. But there's also plenty of other things that haven't been done and could be done. For example, having vegetable gardens in your schools and actually using those vegetables as food to feed students. Why not? I mean, why not consume the products of the land when they are there and available to do? And also reducing and recycling projects, just informing each other about how you can actually reduce the volume of consumption that you have on a daily basis, and that will also in turn massively reduce your carbon footprint. So making it easy, just as you saw downstairs in the lunchroom, making it easy to know where you're going to place your rubbish. Are you going to place it in landfill, or are you going to better place it in the recycling or the food bin? But also simple exterior travel products, how you get to school, cycling or walking, energy efficiency adaptations, and the real key, which is what we'd love to see on more and more schools, is solar panels, wind generation, other forms of renewable energy. We really, really would love to see more schools in Essex create their own energy without connection to the grid and using coal or oil or gas. We really want to see schools go a step forward in producing their own energy and being carbon neutral.
Cool, so that brings us to the end of our presentation. I just wanted to say one last thing. It's clear that everyone in this room wants to make a difference. You wouldn't be here otherwise. You're doing a lot more just by attending and engaging in these debates than many other young people. But the problem is, as young people, you might not have the capacity to, make change, and there is only so much you can do. But I genuinely believe this fund gives you a real opportunity to make a huge difference, right, to your schools, to your areas, to your district, to Essex, and of course to the world. I really would encourage as many of you to sign up and come up with ideas as possible, because it is a real good opportunity. I will read out the link, which will take you to the application form. If anyone wants to write it down, I'm sure we'll be able to find some way of sending it out to everyone. But it is bit.ly/Essex Climate, I'll slow down, Action Fund. Right, if everyone, yeah, I'll read it out again. bit.ly/Essex Climate Action Fund, and hopefully we'll try and find some sort of way to send that out to everyone. Before we close, has anyone got a question? Yeah?
What is the best thing that we can do to get rid of emissions at school?
Hi, yeah. So I think the best thing to do to reduce emissions at school, I think we often find that the most emissions when it comes to school days will be actually getting to and from school. So that really doesn't just affect the climate for the global climate change, it also affects what you're breathing in at school as well. So often when you go to schools in the mornings, it can be really a polluted environment when there are lots of cars coming in for individual journeys. So if we consider transport and actually maybe move and transition towards cycling to school, walking to school, taking the bus to school, car sharing, those are sort of, as Nick mentioned earlier in his sustainable transport presentation, those are the sort of models of transport that we need to be heading towards to reducing emissions at schools.
I've just realised that we have used our time, haven't we? So we'll be hanging about after. If anyone's got any other questions, give me a shout. We'll both be here. But like I say, sign up to the fund. It really is a great opportunity. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for presenting today. I hope that all of you can take part in the Climate Action School Pledge Challenge. To start off with, you have some seeds to plant, information about free trees and gardening equipment, and the opportunity to apply for a school grant to fund this challenge. I would like to invite all of you back to a formal Youth Council meeting on Tuesday, the 1st of March 2022, to report back to the Youth Council about your school challenge, what you have achieved, and most importantly, what changes you have made to improve the environment. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Eliza and I am representing West Hatch and I will be your chairperson for the remaining time of the conference. And I would like to welcome Youth Councillors Natalie Moffat and Sydney Smith to talk about #HaveYourSay.
Thank you, Eliza. At previous youth conferences, we have asked young people to prioritise the issues that they would like the Youth Council to address next year as their 2022 project. Over the past years, we have addressed crime, policing, votes for 16s, bullying, mental health and drug awareness. In 2022, what do you see as the main issues that we can work on? The Youth Council have 10 topics to choose from. They are underage vaping, stop and search and understanding the law around it, reduce plastic use in everyday life by organising environmental days like river cleanups, knife crime and awareness training, online safety, bullying awareness in schools, more things to do for young people like youth groups, learning about budgeting and managing money, sexual health education, and substance abuse. So we're going to do a Mentimeter on that. The code should be on the screen. You can now vote for one of the 10 topics that you believe to be an important issue for the young people today. You may only vote once, so please read all 10 topics and make sure that you have used your vote wisely. Thank you.
Just to check, has everyone logged in? Has everyone gone in? Just raise your hand if you've voted already. Oh, not voted. Oh, it hasn't opened.
How many have not got logged in yet? Just that two, yeah? Are you still trying? Keep trying. It's very slow because quite a few people are using the system. Is it just the two of you? Everyone else is in? Yeah, should we give you another few seconds? Is it loading? Okay. Do you want to give us a thumbs up when you're ready? Oh, okay. Okay.
Has everyone voted yet?
Yeah.
Has everyone voted yet? Can you please raise your hand if you have? Yeah. So in the lead, we have the sexual health education and the underage vaping, and we'll need to come up with the top three. So if you haven't voted yet, then you need to do so now. Is there anybody who hasn't voted yet? Nobody? Okay, we're going to wait for it to stop. Okay, so well, first in place is the sexual health education, and then second to that, underage vaping, and third is the knife crime awareness training.
We would now like you to vote again. This time, we would like you to think about the conference today. Has anything inspired you to take action? What can you do to make a difference? The 10 issues are... Showing the board? No. Plant a tree awareness to protect the planet, reduce waste, shop local to reduce carbon emissions, walk to school, eat less meat, be more active, fly less, reduce your air miles, turn down the heating at home, switch off the lights at home and in school, and recycle more. Using Mentimeter, the code should be up there. Yes. That's the same code. You may only vote once, so please read all 10 topics to make sure you have used your vote wisely. Thank you.
Right, please raise your hand if you voted now. Right, everyone's voted. Could you go back to the result? Or is it? Right, so first place would be plant a tree to protect the planet, second was eat less meat, and third was switch off the lights at home and in school. So thank you for voting. Thank you, Natalie and Sydney, and to everyone who voted. The Youth Council will look at the result, and the new Youth Council for 2022 to 2024 will pick this up as one of their projects. I would now like to welcome our next guest, Di Butler, who will tell us about Develop Me. Welcome, Di.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Elisa. So I'm going to hand it back over to Steve now. He's going to show a quick film.
A very warm welcome to the Develop Me Hub. Develop Me has been established by the West Essex Partnership, a collaboration between Epping Forest, Harlow and Uttlesford councils. We aim to support you looking for opportunities, changing career or further developing your skills and personal development. Your Develop Me Hub is packed with interactive tools, e-learning content and the latest job opportunities, all designed to help you navigate today's job market and grow in confidence. Take a look at our learning programs for focused, structured tasks around your areas of interest and development. Browse hundreds of e-learning courses focused on developing your career and workplace skills with advice direct from expert career coaches and hiring managers. Try our career assessments to get a better understanding of your strengths, tendencies, motivations, aspirations, and workplace preferences. If you're looking for a job, use the job search engine to discover more about employers that might interest you. Follow them to keep up to date and search millions of jobs to find your perfect opportunity. For help creating your CV, check out the CV Builder. Then, upload your CV to CV360. Score it against more than 50 checks and get instant personalised feedback along with plenty of advice to help you perfect your CV. And when you're invited to that all-important interview, the interview simulator will help you practice and prepare. Your career isn't just a future thing. It's about discovering who you are now, as well as who you might become. Start exploring today. Good luck on your exciting journey.
Thank you, Steve. So yeah, Develop Me. It's a fantastic hub that the District Council are supporting along with Harlow District Council and Uttlesford. So what we're here really to inform you of today is that there are job opportunities, especially in the green services. You know, there's green careers. So these are all new opportunities for our young people to apply for. So Develop Me does promote all the jobs that are advertised on, I think it's called I'm reading someone else's notes, Indeed Jobs, and they advertise 1,000 jobs on that website. So if you log on to Develop Me, it's available on an app now. It's an Android and an Apple app. And what you can do is you can actually you can skill yourself up. There's lots of training opportunities on Develop Me. And you can actually build your own CV. So as Georgina said earlier, it is about skills and preparation. There's loads of courses on there. There's loads of opportunities for you to watch other people, listen to their career opportunities, and they talk about how they got into the certain fields that they're interested in. So there's opportunities in science, economics, careers in nursing, policing, but this is an opportunity for you to actually go onto that platform and actually look at how you can improve your own skills and start building your CV for future interviews with colleges and also for future jobs. So Oscar just sat next to me and he said, is there jobs for young people? There are jobs on there and apprenticeships. They promote the apprenticeship schemes. So it's going to be an app. So I mean, put it on your phones and start building your portfolio now. Start building your CV, because all the work experience that you're doing, all the temporary casual work, you know, volunteering, that is all helping you to get a job, to better your careers. And most importantly, it will give you ideas of what careers you could actually apply for. So we will send your teachers that link to this website and also to our school challenge that Seb and Tom talked about earlier. We'll send all the links to your schools. So we just hope that, you know, that you all go on to do something that you'll really enjoy doing and that you want to get out of bed in the morning and actually enjoy the job that you do. So good luck, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Di. I hope that schools and pupils will be using the app, as it certainly sounds informative, especially when it comes to training and job opportunities. The logo will be on the water bottles that we will hand to you as you leave. I would now like to invite Daniel Turner to talk about the Young Citizen of the Year.
Every year, the Young Citizen of the Year award is presented by the chairman of the District Council. They are nominated by their school teachers, their youth group leader, family members and their friends. They are nominated because they are doing something outstanding in the community. If you know of a person that you would like to nominate, then please use the online form. The teacher will have a few forms in their packs today with the QR code on it. The closing date is Friday the 26th of November, so please do nominate them. It is a great opportunity for every young person who is nominated, and the winner will receive a certificate from the councillor, from the chairman, Councillor Kane, and a cheque for £100.
Thank you, Dan. I am sure we have a few worthy winners in the room today. Remember, they must live in the Epping Forest district. I would now like to welcome our final guest speaker, Councillor Holly Whitbread, to say a few words.
Hello everyone, hello again, and thank you for having me. I'm stepping in for the Leader of Council today. Unfortunately, he's away on holiday, but it's a real privilege to be able to kind of sum up and say thank you for coming at such an end of such a wonderful day. As I said earlier when I spoke, when I was Cabinet Member for Communities, I didn't get to go to the youth conference, so it's been really fantastic to attend this year and see what a wonderful job you've done, and I think it's such an important subject. Climate change is going to affect all of our futures, and the fact that young people in Epping Forest are really engaged on this important subject is fantastic. And Francesca has asked me to highlight the Epping Forest Climate Change Consultation. So if you haven't done so already, please do go online and have your say, because as today shows, it's all about listening to young voices, and we really want to hear your views. So please do get involved on that. I think it's been a day which has really reflected the best talent in Epping Forest. I was absolutely blown away at the debate. I remember years ago, many years ago, I feel really old because I keep saying 2008, chairing, I think it was the first Epping Forest Youth Conference debate. And the talent in this room today is fantastic. And I'm sure many of you will be future councillors, lawyers, community activists. There's some real talent. It was really brilliant. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the officer team, Di, Jill, Vanessa. You've done a really fantastic job, and I know many others have been running around today, and Wendy as well. It's been really, really great, and there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes at events like this, from organising the lunches to the agenda for the day. So a huge thank you, and a huge thanks to our Youth Council, who are absolute inspiration. And long may the Youth Council continue. And if anyone today has taken a fancy in the work that we're doing, please do put your name forward, because we need enthusiastic and talented young people to represent their schools, their communities here on Epping Forest District Council. So thank you for having me. Thanks for letting me speak again. I hope you're not bored of my voice, but thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Councillor Whitbread, for your continuous support and for joining us today. Before we close the conference, I would like to say it has been our pleasure to host this exciting day and to have such a great audience. Many of the youth councillors today attended the 2019 youth conference and were inspired by the conference. It was one of the reasons why we stood as youth councillors, as well as wanting to make a difference and giving young people a voice. Just as Councillor Holly Whitbread and Councillor Jamie McIver did over 10 years ago, and they are still making a difference. I will now hand you over to Oscar for the evaluation.
Hi, I'm Oscar, and a member of the EFYC Youth Council. Sorry, my mic was a bit loud. And I think, and as well as the Youth Council team and everyone, I think, that evaluation is quite a useful tool. And as we've put on all this work for our youth conference, we'd like to know what's worked today and what could improve and what you'll take away from you. So I'm sure you're tired of hearing it at this point. Please get out your phones and log on to Mentimeter, since we're just going to do, that. So I'll give you a couple minutes. No, it's just, well, wait, then. I've got the code on my, it's 5765 7909. Has everyone got that code, or does anyone need me to read it out again? All right, 5765 7909. Has everyone logged in, or can you put your hand up if you haven't logged in? All right, okay. First question is, how would you rate today out of great, good, and okay?
I've done my job.
Sliders are weird. What is on with these sliders?
The bottom one's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's just, why would they select a slider to use?
Because we need help sometimes.
Yeah, what's going on with the slider? What is up with the slider? Why are we using a slider? No, why? I'm just confused about why we're using a slider. I'm going to turn on my mic. All right, for the next question, what was the best part of the programme? All right, thank you. What could be improved?
Pizza.
Not to get...
lunch wasn't that good. Later, did you buy? Oh.
Yeah,
so that was stuff.
Yeah, we did start. We did start about 10 minutes late. Oh, who's put nothing? I'm flattered.
Yes.
The length of the lunch. Who put the length of the lunch? We had a dumb lunch.
62, that must be it there. 62.
All right.
That's only because more people put their hands up.
What small change will you make to help climate change?
What is it? Is it multiple choice questions?
No, we got to write
Oh, you
what we
can
want.
type in what you
Yeah,
want.
that's what they do with these. It's supposed to, it creates like a cool mind map thing. We've
Oh,
been
yeah,
doing it
no,
for ages.
it's quite good actually.
I know, I quite like it. Alright, how many people? 32. Come on, everyone.
Oh, that's slow.
Somebody typing out a full-length essay.
Maybe they're thinking about it. Cheer them up. Come on. Oscar, tell them to hurry up.
Dee's just said hurry up. It's very nice of her. All right, as the next question, do you want to be part of the Climate Action School Challenge? And I'm expecting a very one-sided pie chart here.
That's good. If it was a that would be perfect, wouldn't it? 51.
It's too much yellow.
Yeah.
Too much.
54.
Let's go to the next one. What would you like more information on, or what would you like focused on more? If anyone... Who is putting pizza? Who is doing it?
Don't worry. Stay professional.
Who is doing this? Going to have stuff. All right, and that concludes our vote. Thank you to everyone for voting, and yeah.
Hello, sorry. Could I just say this has been an amazing conference, and thank you to all the pupils and teachers for taking part today and for making it a great experience for us. Pupils, please make sure you have all of your belongings before you leave the room, and thank you once again. We really appreciate your presence.
As a token of our appreciation, you'll all get goodie bags and they'll be handed to you as you leave. There's that fire alarm. It's not a real one, it's not a real one, don't worry.
It's a fake one, don't worry. Everything is fine.
Thank you and goodbye. We'll see you all in school, and please remember you can watch the whole day again on the webcast link that we've given to your teachers. Thank you very much.